Test? Hello? Can you hear me? This is a no sound audio fund. Shout out to Alvin. Hey, I think we're good. I think we're good now because I see the bars moving. This is my fault for not paying attention to the bars beforehand.
Yes.
My God. Oh well, we got to do all this over again. I'm gonna have to edit out the first 20 or 5 minutes of the show, I think.
Hey, FARQ, be careful, bud. We'll get you out of the show. We'll just block you if you're going to say this is the best PM in the PM yet.
Well, wow. Okay, so where do we even start again? I apologize. This happens because I updated my PC yesterday.
Oh, and freaking PCs, man.
Yeah, I know, dude. And I had to change some settings in OBS for when I was streaming, but I thought it was all fixed. So I guess in my different
I unplugged my TV from my computer and plugged it back in. It reset all of my audio sources, and I had Paris on my show, and we had no sound.
I remember that episode. You had this sound loop. You had this sound loop. It was crazy.
Because I'm like, oh, this is turned off, and I turned on my a second version of my mic, but we're just start over. Hey, welcome everybody.
Yeah,
there you go. Let's do it.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to PM in the PM, episode number 52. Hey, this is a year of podcasts. Okay, I'm not going to say all that over again, but hey, no, for serious. Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm taking the reins of this one because Pong Soul is throat is sore and he sounds crappy right now. You couldn't hear how horrible he sounds earlier, which is probably a good thing for you guys. But
they're gonna hear it plenty. Don't worry.
Yeah, I can tell. We are very lucky on this episode to have Colt Eastwood, the one and only. I'll say it again: video editor extraordinaire, podcaster. Now he's been on camera for about a year now, so you've seen him plenty of times. And a great show, X and C podcast, has taken off on YouTube, on audio platforms, and all the rest. And now I know why Kate was calling me 20 times when I was live. I should have known either something was really wrong downstairs or
you said the house was on fire or something.
Yeah, I was like, I gotta take this. I was like, what's going on? Because she knows we were live. But yeah, I just got caught up in the intro. Wasn't even paying attention to the chat. But hey, Colt, thank you for being here again on our channel. Second time here on PM in the PM. So it's a pleasure, dude.
Yeah, thanks for having me. You guys are fun to hang out with, and thanks. I said some stuff before, but it was
yeah.
So no, I'm really grateful. People who support what we do, the people in the chat here, people who are here checking out our shows, listening to the podcast. It means so much because we would talk to no one. Like you and Pong would just talk to each other, just to be able to talk about your favorite thing, which is the hobby of gaming. And we're so glad to the chat over here. They're really our extra friends. So we really appreciate you guys being here. And thanks for having me on.
I mean, they were watching and the count was going up even without any audio. So, you know what I mean? That's talking about great support. Vic the Clip.
Well, I know you got Spooky in the chat. I know Spooky was probably doing our voices for us. He's like, oh, there's no sound. I'll just do their voices. And he had us saying all kinds of crazy things.
I could imagine.
So,
somebody took the first 5 minutes and just made up what we were saying, and it did. Have y'all seen those NFL videos where they make up the random words oh, I like bananas or just whatever, just random stuff that just doesn't make sense? If somebody did that to our first 5 minutes, that'd be classic.
That would be great. Get us in trouble too.
It could. We get into plenty of trouble on this channel anyway, though, Colt, especially on Xbox Ultimate. I don't know how that happened on our channel. We just kind of. I think it's Kate's fault. I think Kate took us down that dark path.
It's always Kate.
I think she did. But shout out to the chat. You guys all rock, and thanks for being here. Vic the Click, member for 6 months, said, no sound, guys. I wish I would have seen that a long time ago. Appreciated that, Vic, as well. Alvin with a $10 super chat says audio fund. Yeah, I'll get some new cables with that. Appreciate it. And DRAWNTJ with a $5 super chat says, hi, Pong, Colt, and Mav. Can't hear you guys for some reason. I went to another video and it works fine. I wonder if it's YouTube. My God, I think maybe we should have no audio for a while because these super chats of technical support coming in are absolutely crazy. Appreciate it. DRAWNTJ with another $5 super chat says, I can hear you now. I thought I was deaf for a moment. Laugh out loud. This is going to be a fire show. Right on. And appreciate you guys. Wow, geez. Another $2 super chat from DRAWNTJ. Pong, you almost sound like Crispy Bomb. That is fucking great. Love it. You're on mute now, Pong. Is that on purpose? Yeah, there you go.
There we go. I'll take that as a compliment. Okay.
Yeah, Crispy's awesome.
Yeah,
and
Crispy's awesome.
And he knows his meat. He does. Yeah, but
Yes,
he's like a steak guy or whatever. He like cuts meat or whatever.
Yes,
What do you call those guys?
He's a butcher.
Butcher. Yes, thanks. Yeah, butcher.
Really, that's a new word that's going around.
I don't have my Webster's dictionary in front of me. I'm sorry. Shane with the $5 super chat says, cheers to some of my favorite Xbox-centric YouTubers. 2023 is going to be freaking insane for Xbox. I don't think people realize how insane Game Pass will be. Whew. Yeah, 2023 is going to be absolutely freaking insane. I know that Aaron Greenberg thinks so because he responded to a tweet and he said it is going to be bananas. 2023
yes, he did.
Be. So
and we just got word today Monster Hunter Rise coming to Game Pass next year. So
yeah,
crazy.
It'll be first time on consoles besides Nintendo, right? And it will be Game Pass day one. So on Xbox. So that was a big deal. But also the Riot games started showing up today or yesterday or something. The piece for PC Game Pass as well. So
yeah, they sure did. Yeah,
that's a pretty big deal.
And there's a rumor going around. I don't know how substantiated it is that they are thinking about console versions of like Valorant, which would be huge.
Yeah.
Pong, is that a real thing?
That's a real thing. Yeah. They've hired.
I was told that would never happen by Zocker87, who deals in absolutes like a true Sith Lord.
They see the money, they see the potential. You know that, Colt. But yeah, there was some recent hirings over there that pretty much confirmed the rumors because they were looking for console specific developers, and so it makes a lot of sense that it's coming. Yeah. Well, dollar signs. That's all that matters.
Well, Colt, how you been, man? You've been playing games lately, or you've been rocking out with those guitars, or what have you been up to?
Yeah, I've been playing the guitars. I've been really weird when it comes to games lately. I've been jumping all over the place, and for the first time ever, nobody cares, but I'm like 4 big games behind on finishing games. I just finished Evil West. I've been playing Need for Speed Unbound. I'm not trying to tell you what I'm playing. Like, there's some interesting discussion behind it, but I was trying Need for Speed Unbound, and it's got some. I kind of like the other ones. I don't know. It's like I want to talk about that more.
Yeah,
later.
We're gonna talk about Need for Speed Unbound because I've been playing that.
Yeah. I'll wait till then. It's been crazy. I've never jumped between games more and not finished games ever. And this year has been really weird. And I spent most of my year playing like 3 different games that I've been playing for a long time. And one of them was MLB The Show. The other one was Grounded and Fallout 4. Like, I'm on Fallout 4 and 76 again. I just can't. I'm like a gamer HDD, but or HD 4K ADD with high quality sound.
You know who Colt sounds like right now, Pong?
Sounds like us.
It does. It sounds like a grazer.
Grazer.
I mean, I got bit by something. Like, normally I beat like 30 to 40 games, and most of them are pretty big games.
Yeah.
And this year it's just been like, oh boy, yikes. But
Xbox is trying to turn everybody into grazers. That's what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
So
they really are.
Yes.
And the YouTube stuff was pretty weird and wacky this year because Xbox is on a real down, on a low spot for their game releases. Yeah. Everything got held, which we'll talk about later in the show. And I was really worried about. It was hard to get excited about the content when Xbox was like, yeah, we don't really have anything right now.
Yeah.
And but it's been fantastic either way, especially this past month or so. It's been really good.
Well, it seems like that's probably going to be PlayStation next year, though, right? I mean, besides Spider-Man. I'm just saying, like, besides Spider-Man, what is there else that we?
Oh, did you see the article? And interrupt me if this is on your list, but the article that PlayStation fans are like, "What? Wolverine's not coming out next year or the year after that?"
Well, I was like, is anybody actually surprised about this? I'm like, who are they listening to that they thought Wolverine was going to be next year?
It's those PlayStation insiders that are that are out there, right?
Being sly and foxy about what they think's coming. Yeah, that sort of thing.
Did they actually think that Insomniac was going to pump out like a Spider-Man 2 and the following year Wolverine?
I mean, it's not psychotic. They have 2 teams, but those two teams, the Spider-Man 2 team is going to work on Wolverine and Force, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like they're going to have the Ratchet and Clank team work on that. As far as I know about Insomniac, they're amazing, but hey, they're also they're half been a multi-plat developer, but we won't get into that.
Yeah.
I'll get messy tonight, though.
You mean they weren't always part of PlayStation? That's crazy.
Organic growth, baby.
Yeah.
Put some Miracle Grow on that sucker.
It's absolutely nuts. But yeah, we got a lot to talk about, actually. I don't know how much time you have, Colt. I know, but me and Pong sometimes run a little long. But
what's a little long?
Well,
like Jez Corden and Randall Thor long?
Well, we've done that before, but usually it's sometimes around 3 hours or so. If you need to like bow out at any time, just like raise the white flag, and we'll get you.
We'll
out
see.
Of here
we'll see how
on.
I'll do this.
Yeah,
we'll see how it goes.
The yellow flag.
Let's rock. Let's get in the topic. What's the number one? What's the very first hot, fresh topic?
Well, I kind of do like to start about some of the games that just have come out, right? Because that's kind of hot on our. We got a little bit of like hot, juicy stuff to get into. Some concession talk potentially, right? 2023 stuff. You know what's going to happen with that, and what to expect, and when is this holding back things going to end, right? But also, we do have some other cool stuff because like December is insane right now. And I would say that this December has been the biggest games December that I can remember in a long time. Because usually it used to be like all the games came out in November. And if you hit December, that game, there would be like one. And people would be like, oh, that game's like dead. Because like it launched in December after Black Friday, all that stuff. It's just, I don't know what they're doing, right? But now we got like the same day, pretty much. We got Callisto Protocol, Midnight Suns, and Need for Speed Unbound. We also just got the news of Lego Star Wars hitting Game Pass is coming up, which is a pretty big thing. We got High on Life still yet to come this month. The Riot Games thing is just hitting PC Game Pass as well. So it seems like all of a sudden there's just like this wave of pretty big, good games and some game news that we've kind of been lacking a little bit. But you did mention Need for Speed Unbound. So that's one of the games that has that I've been enjoying actually, but it doesn't sound like you've been enjoying it as much as I have. So what's your take? What's your take on Need for Speed?
Oh, did I foreshadow that? I didn't realize I was. Yeah, I guess I did. I just played Need for Speed Heat. Like I think I finished it like 2 years ago, and when I got back into Need for Speed Heat, I'm like, this is actually a pretty cool game. It's not amazing, but I saw it all the way through pretty much. I think I have like 3 races left.
Yeah.
One of them was the drifting, and I just couldn't get it. But I went back and played Payback, and I was like, man, this game's really fun. It's so dumb, but it's really fun. Well, there's another one that came out right around then.
There was like Need for Speed The Run. You remember that one?
The Run.
Yeah, it had like
That
this
was a cross country one where you had to
I
race
think
from
that's
point
the
to
other one.
point.
I was playing
cross.
Payback, maybe The Run and Heat. Like there was a summer when I was just like on party chat with Dealer, and he's like, why are you playing those? Because we were game sharing back then, and he bought them, and I like, I don't know, I just enjoying them. And then I load up Unbound, and I'm like, this is the same city. It feels almost exactly the same. And then there's a real massive difficulty problem that I've never had before in those titles. And I feel like I'm the only one who's having that problem.
Where you're not
like
winning every race.
I'm getting 4th, 6th, 2nd, 3rd over and over and over. And they start you off with a fast car, and then they're like, okay, 2 years earlier. And then they take you back to your roots. I pick a Honda Type R, and I can't win races. And so you barely get enough money. And then I do some upgrades, and I'm still not winning any races. And I'm like, and I'm doing like the same races over and over because nothing will unlock because I can't move forward. I'm like, this is not fun.
Are you playing on normal, Colt?
So this is so embarrassing. So I'm playing on challenging, which is normal.
Yeah, which is
I switch it to relaxed. Zero difference.
Really?
I'm still getting 3rd and 2nd place, 4th place. I'm still like, I'll mess up a turn and the race is over. And I'm like, this isn't right. I can't be the only one having this problem. I got to hear from you guys in the chat if you're doing fine or if I just really suck all of a sudden.
Yeah, I'm curious with your take, Pong, because I'll reserve mine for last because from what I gather in our DMs a little bit, you had some of the same challenges with the game. So what's your thoughts on
good?
Yeah, no, I played it more now than when I first talked about it in our DMs. And you know how much I was looking forward to this. I've wanted Need for Speed to come back. I'm on Colt's side of things that some of the older ones, while they weren't necessarily what I wanted out of Need for Speed, they still had some enjoyable moments and some enjoyable time to them. Even the corny stories were enjoyable. So Need for Speed Unbound was something that I really was looking forward to. And you know me, it was all about the driving, right? I needed Criterion to hit that arcadey feel again that they used to have, that they've kind of missed on. And I actually went back, Colt, interesting enough, to Rivals, which was done by Criterion. And so when I fired up Need for Speed Unbound, actually the driving is a lot like Rivals, which I'm not against. I liked Rivals back in the day. But here's the problem. I'm undecided about this game. Number one, the writing and the characters. And again, people can say, well, it's Need for Speed. What do you care? Listen, they're annoying as hell. I don't know another way to put it. The writing and the characters are awful. I can't, like, if I could turn them off, this game would be better instantaneously, but I can't. So there's
no way that someone's like, get me the deets. And like, there's no way someone talks like
listen,
that.
Colt, people, Caitlin was making fun of me in the DMs because I have these complaints and she always says it's because of my age, right? There's times where I admit I'm just the old guy in the room and I don't get it, right? These games aren't for me anymore, right? That happens. But I'm telling you,
it's been happening a lot lately, actually.
The wife's 16-year-old was down here watching me. And before I said one word, he looked over at me and he said, this is awful. We don't talk like this at all. Nobody talks like this. So I knew I was in the clear by saying this, right? But otherwise, now that I've played it more, I was having the same problem you were, Colt, because other Need for Speeds that I've played, once you learn the track, normally you could start placing, you can
cut the corners right in Apex. WhySoSerious says, relax is not relax. I'm so stressed getting bullied by cops and Corvettes and SWAT team trucks. Keep going. Yeah. Thank you for saying that, Serious.
Yeah. So that's normal. And then they put this limit on how many times you can retry. And I'm like,
like 4.
Now, why? Yeah, 4 of them on normal. I'm like, why would you?
Hold on. I got to pause.
Yeah. Go.
Hold on. Hold that. I hate to do that to people because if Gaz or we have to interrupt each other, that thought's gone. We'll never get it back.
Don't worry about it. We're
interrupting.
We do all this time.
The chat's asking, I got to say first, because we could bash all this stuff. The game looks really good. Like, I think the game looks really, really excellent. And the anime cartoon effects are very, very cool. The feel of the game, just like you'd expect. Like, the cars are sticky. They feel a little too like magnetized to the road, and in not a good way, where like when you turn the car kind of like is sandpaper tires, but it looks really great. But there's just a difficulty problem. It's like, why am I not passing these cars? I can't catch up. I'm boosting. Like, I feel like my boost is like nothing. It's like done. I'm like, what the crap? So we just I gotta say that because the game is very impressive. And there's also a major rubber banding problem. Like, I'm like, okay, I'm in first. I take a corner and I got it like 90% perfect. And this car comes around and goes, just past me. I'm like, all right, so go back to the retry thing.
No problem. So the retries, I don't like that they limited them, because part of the thing about Need for Speed was getting used to the cars, getting used to the current racetrack that you're on. And if I want to retry the race over and over again until I got it, that was a big part of it. And now that's not possible. So for me, that was another one. And again, I'm just getting my concerns up front out of the way, because there is a lot of positives like you were just talking about. So that was another thing that caught me off guard. The cops. Right now, the cops, I've been up to level 3 or 4 heat. I can't remember. I haven't gotten to 5 yet. But during the races, the old Need for Speeds, the cops would tag the first couple of cars through. So if you were in 4th place, those cops would go cause trouble for the leader, which gave you a chance to catch up. Okay. Now, what I've noticed with these cops are just stupid. They go after them, but it like literally 10 seconds later they fall off, and all of a sudden I have to deal with them. So they're no longer on the first place car. The first place car is free and clear. Now I'm dealing with the cops coming in my way. That is not the way the old Need for Speeds used to work at all. So those were some of my concerns. However, what I will say, as I got through the intro part, and we're not going to spoil anything because there is a story to it, but as we got through the intro part, and then like Colt said, you got to go buy, your own vehicle,
your first car.
You kind of start over. Once I started upgrading that car, I am now finishing first or second every single time. So I'm not having the same issue anymore. The thing that still is off to me is
I'm so mad.
You're so mad. Is the drifting. The drifting is inconsistent. The drifting is inconsistent at
tires
best.
are way too sticky. Way too sticky.
And then other times
here's what makes me mad is I have like 5,000 or I have like 4,000 in the bank. I go up to a race and it costs 2,000 to enter. I get fourth place. I'm like, and my son was sitting next to me. He's 11. He's like, what the heck? You broke even. I'm like, I just drove all the way across the city, entered the race, lost all my money, did the whole race, broke even, and now I got to go try and get another race. And I'm going to need 4 races to do the next sport upgrade. I was like, I've never, because remember the reason why I told you guys earlier on that I was playing Payback, the run game and Heat. I was like playing them all in a 2-month period. I know what those games were like, and I'm like, I never had this frustration where I just felt like I was just tied down.
They've added a grinding factor to it, and they've added a point where they almost want you to go do all the other things, like find all the teddy bears,
like all this, and all the speed zones.
Teddy bears.
Yes, exactly, because you can earn extra cash. But yeah, Colt, that's the other thing that I did notice is the money situation. If you aren't placing in top 3, it's a struggle. It's a grind because the parts do cost an absolute ton, which is fine.
Costs as much as an entry level car,
right?
You're like 12,500 for an upgrade. I'm like, on a Honda Type R.
And I think they want you to take that risk to bank, all of your money and keep taking more risks. And I think that's what they're trying to drive you towards. But I don't think it works in the overall grand scheme of having fun, like you said, Colt. Like I sit down to Need for Speed, not for a simulation driving style, not even for like a Forza Horizon style. I sit down to have pure arcadey fun, cops, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And this seems like they're trying to push it a different direction a little bit. And for me, overall, again, now that I played more, now that I got my car beefed up and I'm starting to win some, it has gotten better. The one thing I will say is the big complaint, we talked about this before it launched, was I did not know how I was going to like the animation, the anime style, graphics popping out of the car all the time. I thought they might be really distracting while I was driving. I gotta say, they did a fantastic job with them. They don't distract from the driving. They haven't bothered me yet. In fact, like Colt said, that they are actually really cool looking.
They're satisfying. They have sound effects.
Yes,
yeah,
sound
they have
effects, all that little stuff.
Yeah.
Very well done there. Overall, I like the game. I'm on the 10-hour trial. I have not bought it. I'm undecided whether or not. I thought by now I would know if I was going to purchase it or not. I'm still undecided. I think I'm going to wind up playing out the entire 10-hour trial and then seeing how I feel about it before I purchase. So,
yeah.
Well,
Mav,
guys,
Mav's the exciting one because I've seen. And dude, Mav, funnily enough, I was watching back your playthrough, by the way.
Yeah.
Your stream the other day, and you got to the point where you got to go buy your first car. And I said, he's buying the Eclipse.
Oh, 100%.
I know he's buying it because you and me are exactly the same. I'm like, he's buying the Eclipse.
I saw
you kept going through all the cars. And you're like, oh,
I was like, yes, that is the one right there. Now that car starts off slow as shit. I will say,
yes,
it really does, and it's hard to drift with it because it's 4-wheel drive, and so there's some aspects to that I think
Colt, real quick. I forgot to ask you. I had it in my head, and then we got off tangent a little bit. Did you go into the driving tuning section and try to play with the tuning at all?
A little bit.
Okay.
One of the sliders doesn't even work. There's a grip slider.
Yes.
And it won't move with the stick, and you push A, it goes clunk, clunk, clunk.
Yes.
And I was like,
and I think it's because you need certain tires.
Yeah. I think you need to upgrade the tire.
Yes.
for that.
In order, can you adjust that? But I had to do a lot of that adjusting to get the fuel of the cars down. Sorry.
Oh, and don't worry, guys. Need for Speed Unbound has 756 different clothing styles for your character.
Yeah.
Very true. Including licensed brands like Louis Vuitton.
Yeah. So weird.
Kate was just making her character a little while ago before we went live for the online portion. It sounds like to me, guys, you guys just need to get good. That's what it is. Let's just get good.
You know, I don't know how old your audience is. I know my audience is
they're like
it's not
95% like 30 to 50. Colt.
okay. So yeah, I think mine is too. Have you guys noticed the past year or two? There's been a running theme of like this young generation, like the way they talk and act and dress, and everyone's like, why are they doing this? Even like the young people, like the Saints Row and the Gotham Knights and the games that I enjoyed playing. Need for Speed Unbound. What are the other recent games that have come out that have had like overly exorbitantly dressed, like colorful characters that talk like they're stuck in the
TikTok?
wrong Yeah, the tick. I mean, I don't even know if it's TikTok.
It's like
super.
It's
and I get worried because I'm like, because like you were saying, Pong, like, am I getting too old for this? And then, you know, my 11-year-old son's like, that's really cheesy. And I'm like, thank goodness. I think normal people, like the Forspoken thing. Remember that? Like, oh yeah, okay, that's something I do now. Like all of my kids were like, oh gosh, that was bad.
I guess I'm just cheesy because it doesn't bother me at all, man. I don't know why. It's just like it just reminds me of one of those corny ass Need for Speed stories that they've always been really dumb and over the top,
fine.
you know. But I will say after like the opening sequence, because like this game almost has like 2 opening sequences, right? After that, man, I actually for the first time in a long time with the Need for Speed game, I'm actually interested in the story because of the twist. No, there was a twist, and I'm like, I got angry. I got to get revenge on this girl. She
twist like the only
over.
story I got is, hey, redo this race. You don't have any money. Okay, you go redo this one because you lost again. That's my story.
I don't want to spoil it, but okay. So there was like this girl's bad news. I knew it was bad news. I knew she was bad news. I was telling the chat, I don't want to do this right now because this is going to go bad. And what I thought was going to happen, it ended up being worse. She screwed us over. She screwed over Rydell. I can't believe it, man. But anyway, besides that, graphically, like gorgeous. If you actually just start driving slowly and looking at the buildings and the reflections and the car details and the damage, the game is like top notch.
And I don't mind like when I was talking about the colorful stuff, I don't mind the way they dress, the color of their hair or the clothes. Like none of that stuff bothers me. In fact, in Saints Row, I was having fun with all that stuff. It's the way that the characters act and the dialogue, like
I've heard that from
the lingo they use. I don't know what the word is, but like they try to use like shorten speak and try to use trendy words. And I'm like,
I hear bruh,
the trying too hard thing,
bruh, over and over again, bruh, over and over again. I was like, are you kidding me right now?
We have a bruh emoji in our chat.
We do as a joke because that's what we joke, but this game actually uses it over the time.
And then there's like, you know, these games, they try to be funny, but the people who write them aren't funny themselves. Like, the guy goes, well, you know, you got to do your best so you can get the best out of life. And she's like, you should totally put that on a t-shirt. He's like, yeah, and I should give away free oil changes with it. And I'm like, why is that funny? That's not even an anecdote. It's not even
so good.
All right, it's fine. I mean, I laugh at Gaz. What do I have any right to say what's hilarious, right? Gaz is crazy. It's that kind of stuff over and over in video games. Like, no, don't try to be funny because you can't do it. You got to get like Jack Black or get Dave Chappelle to write for you, but don't have some I don't know, some animator. Hey, I'll do the jokes. I'm funny. They laugh at me in the break room. I don't know.
I think that's the thing with our generation too, though, because there's like, are there any good young comedians like out there with movies and stuff? I mean, our generation had all these like classic comedians, all these movies constantly,
and now they have Pete Davidson.
Exactly. Well, I mean, he's like the only one, right? I mean, I can't think of it.
Yeah, I mean, we had Sandler and Farley, and we had everybody back in the day.
Yeah,
that all came from SNL and Farrell, and I mean, I could go on and on, but Or somebody in the chat, who was it, said, I got to give him the shout. Alvin said, it's not age. It's not an age thing. It's a culture thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, maybe it must be, it must be a culture thing. If my kids don't think that stuff's funny either, they think it's
right,
dorky. But
yeah, but
anyway, we shouldn't even like talk about that long. Like, is the game enjoyable? Mav says we need to get good. And he's enjoying it.
I love the grind aspect of it. Like, it's something I've wanted in a racing game like this for a long time. And I feel like this gets back to some of the roots of what I liked about Haze. You start with a shitty car, and you got to struggle at first, and you get better, and you got to progress, and then ultimately you feel like you've achieved something. And I feel like a lot of the car games we've had for a long time just like throw cars at you left and right like candy, and it's like I didn't even have to earn this. It's like I start playing the game, you already got $1 million
Forza
cars,
does that,
and
Forza doesn't allow you to work your way up in the up, which used to be really great, but now I wonder, like, is that what I really want? But and I could appreciate that. Like, I've got that Honda hatchback, and I put in an air filter, and then I put in an ECU or whatever, and I'm like I'm gonna get 3 more miles per hour. And I was talking to Rand, he's like, hey, that 3 more miles per hour might mean that you're gonna get first place. It might be the edge you need. And then I do that, and I drop the difficulty to a 2-year-old, and I still can't win.
That's funny. There are some problems with the game. I mean, overall, the game's optimized like crazy because it's like running at 4K 60, buttery smooth, absolutely gorgeous. I haven't had any issues with it really, but there's no modes, right? But
there's no mode. You just load it up, and it runs at 60, and it's high. Yeah. It's high. I don't know what the resolution is, but
I think it's 4K.
Decently high.
I think it's 4K. Yeah.
It's 4K.
And but Fuzzy has had a lot of issues with crashing on this game. In fact, he had to uninstall it because he just can't play it. It just crashes.
I haven't had that.
So he's the only one I've talked to that's had that issue at all. So I don't know what the deal is. But that's the one person I know that's had an issue with it. The only other issue I came across was in my game. I was finished 5th, like I would have been 5th, but for some reason, all of the cars in front of me just immediately teleported behind me right at the end of the race. So I got first. I was like, how did that? I was like on a jump, and I landed like in front of them. They all just like jumped back. It was pretty.
They all probably crashed or something. Yeah.
So, but we got some super chats to get to here as well. DRAWNTJ with a $5 super chat said, "I'm so tired of Sony. If they turned into Sega, I wouldn't be sad or surprised. I agree with King David. No PS6. That is, ooh, those are fighting words for Sony fans out there, DRAWNTJ. But who's to say you're wrong? Maybe not. I don't know." DRAWNTJ again with the $5 super chat. It says Need for Speed Unbound is repetitive, no cops in multiplayer, big L. They are adding cops to multiplayer, and they're adding some other stuff to multiplayer. They did launch the multiplayer. Multiplayer is pretty fun. It's free roam. You can do 16 player servers. You can be in groups of 4. But they're adding like stake races to it. They're adding potentially pink slip races. They're adding cops and all these different things over time to that as well. And DRAWNTJ with another $5 super chat says Need for Speed Unbound is beautiful, but is getting boring for online. I'm more into the story right now.
Same.
Alvin with a $5 super chat says 2022 has been absolutely phenomenal for gaming. This a hot take? Not sure, but I have been having a blast all year. Yeah, it's been a great year for gaming as a whole, I think. It's been a bad
year, but I've had lots of fun.
Right.
I mean, I think a lot of people might say, oh, there's been a couple highlights, Alvin, but I've had a really good time. It was weird when I said I didn't beat a lot of games this year compared to normal.
But I
still had such a great time.
Bad year for AAAs, I would say.
Yeah, that would probably be the best way to say it.
Yeah, except for Nintendo or PlayStation. They had quite a few. But if you're looking at Xbox and third parties, third parties struggled for AAA games this year too. So
yeah, a lot of delays.
Everything's in February, so it's going to be interesting.
Shout out to Spill Fencer in the chat. Who says 23 guys.
Spencer, nice. Jasper, a member for 17 months.
Call me Phil.
Says this is why I speed run games. So many coming out. Yeah, dude. Thanks, Jasper. J Mac with the $5 super chat. Shout out to J Mac, awesome guy. As a shout out to PM and the PM podcast. Salute, gentlemen. Great guests. Salute, Colt Beastwood. Pong Soul. Mav7 is pure awesomeness. Thanks for throwing my gamer tag out there. J-Mac always calls me with my gamer tag. It's absolutely awesome.
Nice.
DRAWNTJ with another $5 super chat says, Colt, do you remember Need for Speed Reboot? It's the 2015 game with the live actor cinema cutscenes. I absolutely hated that game. I hated Heat. I hated the run. I hated every Need for Speed since the last Hot Pursuit was just ass to me, except for this one. I don't know.
I don't remember that one, but I actually like one of the Need for Speeds that everyone hates, and it was 2013, maybe 2012's Need for Speed Most Wanted. It was basically their Burnout Paradise ripoff when Criterion joined them. You smashed the billboards by jumping into them. I really liked that one, and no one liked it. It had the white cover with the red graphics on it, all white cover. I really liked it.
Yeah, the
That
last
was Rivals, wasn't it?
What's that?
Wasn't that Rivals?
No. Well, Rivals did. I thought of that. That's what.
Yeah.
That's the one I played. Need for Speed Rivals. And Payback. That's the one I played.
It was okay.
Yeah, Rivals.
Rivals. I enjoyed it, but
I liked
Need for
Rivals.
Speed Most Wanted. It was
that was back on 360. Most of the one
it was a 361 right at the end of the generation, and they took a lot
That's
of
right.
Criteria brought over a lot of Burnout Paradise things into the game. I think you could smash cars, and the camera would cut to the car smashing off the side of the road as well. You could smash them off the road. I love that. It was good, but I don't know. It's enough Need for Speed for 1 year, I think, for one talk.
Yeah, as Jean-Marc Louis said with the $2 super chat says, I joked Sony would die in 10 years last year. Lots of Sony hate on these super chats already. It's interesting. But we'll get into
thumbnail.
that. Is it because of the thumbnail? I think so. Kate's
yeah.
That was Pong's idea. Kate did a great job executing. Phil's got an offer that they can't refuse for sure. So we'll get into that. A Midnight Suns. I don't know if y'all had a chance to play it, but I'm just gonna say I've had a chance to play it today. A lot of cutscenes. But overall, the tactics gameplay is what I was hoping for. And the story is actually really good. So if you want to check out Midnight Suns, check out the stream from earlier, and you can kind of see what that game's all about. Some people are surprised it's not an action game. I've seen. Well,
I don't know how that's possible. Firaxis has been advertising it as a tactics strategy RPG from the beginning.
So some people are surprised. They're like, "What? I thought this was going to be like Avengers." You know.
By the way, I told you in chat earlier, but I hate you. So
I know
today, and I was at work, so I can't wait to fire it up tonight.
I was in a meeting for work, and I was trying to get off of it, you know, to start playing the game. I finally got off just in time to stream for a couple hours. And then another game that's dropping tonight, I think, is Callisto Protocol.
Jeez,
it's crazy, and there's a little bit of some skepticism about that game coming out the last couple days.
Yeah, people are getting worried. Yeah,
is there a reason why? Like they're getting worried about it, or
because the embargo date for the embargo time for the reviews is at launch, and that has typically been a red flag. And I would be curious to hear from you guys if you can remember that not being the case. I mean, there's been a couple games that have come out where the review embargo is at launch, and the game, doesn't, score amazingly.
We were just talking about Need for Speed. What's crazy is I've been playing this game for a couple days, but it's still no reviews out there
because it's in the 10-hour trial before the game launches.
Right. So, but that's another one with the day, I guess, a day of release embargo, right?
Let me look it up.
Midnight Suns reviews hit today, which was a technical release as well, because if you live in New Zealand, that game was out today as well. So I think it's almost like par for the course right now on these AAAs, at least for this year. I wonder if that's
7 hours until Need for Speed Unbound's release. Metascores can drop for review embargo, and Callisto Protocol. What a weird word. Callisto is same 7 hours.
7
right.
hours, yeah.
So I don't know. I did see there's like a leak of some gameplay or something with they said there's some frame issues, frame pacing issues or something like that.
Yahoo's review went live early today, and they pulled it right down, but some people got some screenshots and they talked about the length of the game, but they had given it a 10 out of 10 supposedly. So,
Oh, for Yahoo did?
yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Jeez.
So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see what the reviews are. There's a lot of hype behind that game, but I people keep asking about it. It's not one I'm getting day one. I'm gonna just not excited about it for whatever reason, but it seems like it could be a surprise hit.
Colt, are you playing it day one or no? Do you do hard?
Which one?
The Callisto
Callisto.
Protocol.
Well, I mean, I made that face like, oh crap, I'm already 4 games behind, and yeah, I want to play it tonight. I want to try it. So yeah, I'll be playing it and fraud myself into an endless pit full of snakes that are the games that I haven't finished. Like I was trying to play, I went back and loaded up Plague's Tale Requiem and did like part of a chapter, and I'm like, I'll have to get back into this, and I'm like, oh crap, there's other games that are coming out. It's really bad. Yeah, it's really bad.
It is.
It's a good problem now. It's like there's no games in 2022, and it's the year where I'm completely behind. It is an interesting. It's a fallacy where you're like, hey, you bots ain't got no games out there to play. And I'm like, well, I tell the PlayStation guys, hey, I just want to thank you for MLB The Show 22. I have like 300 hours in that. Thanks for having your studios make that game for me on my Xbox Series X. I really appreciate that. It's been one of my favorite games this year. Thanks, PlayStation.
Yeah.
Colt. Yeah. What happened to Be Nice?
Yeah.
It's
Nice,
gone.
Colt.
It died.
Be evil. Colt 2023's motto is be evil when Xbox is just dominating the whole gaming planet. I don't think he's gonna let anybody.
They might
slide.
They might.
We'll see. I think they will dominate 2023. I mean, they're already gaining market share even without any games, right? They're already.
I mean, we'll talk about this later, but I mean, PlayStation is peeing themselves. They're so afraid about all the money they could possibly lose, even with concessions. They are afraid, and it really shows. I'm not going to get into it yet, but it really shows. And you have to remember that PlayStation leans so heavily on everyone else's games and everyone else's work.
Mm-hmm. They are next year for sure. I mean, definitely. That's what 2023 is all about for them next year.
2 Square Enix games that are going to float them until Spider-Man 2 comes out. Yeah.
Charlie,
a studio they now own. They now own them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
Charlie says, Charlie Hustle, shout out to Charlie. No, don't Jasper, no, I want to keep that. Jasper got overzealous with the mod. Colt 2023 says, go fuck yourself, fanboys.
What?
That's Colt's 2023 motto.
That's Gaz's 2023.
Yeah, that's definitely Gaz's.
Although Gaz is rubbing off on Colt. XNC.
He really
this week
is.
was funny as hell. So Colt's getting a little bit more spicy.
Yeah, I mean, you dropped the F-bomb on me on
I heard
on
that.
Twitter today.
Oh, I heard it. I heard it on the show actually on XNC last week.
Oh my gosh, he's so great.
Yeah, we'll drop a few F-bombs here and there on this channel, just a few.
Very rare.
Yeah, very rarely, but we'll say the fuckity fuck word.
Frick.
I know you don't cuss too much on your channel, Colt, so try and keep it a little more clean for you. Want to give a shout out to the awesome people in the chat here watching the show. Before we get into the juice that we have, the juice. We got a lot of people. We got 116 people here right now, so it's hard to get through all the names, but just shout out to all the channel members and also a lot of these awesome people here every week with support, and any new viewers, appreciate you as well. Shout out to Tony Grasso, Stuff Sean, Spider-Man, Wilfred Rosario, I see you there. Hertog hanging out. He loves Hertog loves the thumbnail, so good idea, Pong. Shout out to Trinity, Spooky. There's my beautiful wife Caitlin who did the thumbnail. Leonard, how's it going? Sleepy Goblin, DRAWNTJ again, appreciate the support as well. Beer Baron, Talos Ray, Brian, Silent Cipher, X1X for life. How's it going? Vic the Click. Hope you're having fun tonight. And is it drink night Thursday night? Or is that too early, Vic? You guys absolutely all rock.
It never is for Vic. Come on,
never is. Yeah.
If he's not at work, come on, man. There's a bar open. So you normally listen to our show at the bar. Remember?
It is on Friday. Friday
Yeah,
nights,
he's usually at the bar streaming us.
Yeah,
Can you imagine that? Will you put your phone down? We're at the
No,
bar.
he is. He listens to us
video
with his
game
pods
news.
while he's at the bar, just having some drinks. It's freaking awesome, man.
It's awesome.
Thanks for joining the channel, J Mac. Appreciate you, dude. Welcome to the Speculators. We have some fun here. And Caper Grant, a lot, man. Spooky again. Everybody in the chat's absolutely awesome. Bean, one of the favorite names in the chat's just Bean. Love that. You guys all rock again. And hey, before we get into this juice as well, we are sponsored. This is a sponsored podcast now, and part of that is we get to talk about our balls and how smooth they are, and we get to talk about all this stuff. And you know, we have an ad read here that we got to do as well. So appreciate that. Colt's looks like he's bowing out of the of that one. But I'm gonna read an ad now. Here's the thing: Manscaped sent me one ad to read, and just to be honest. And I've already read it like 3 times, I think. So I just made it my own this time.
Oh, nice.
So it's a little
Please tell
shorter.
me you're gonna sing. Please tell me you're gonna sing.
No, I'm not gonna sing. But I will say that thanks to Manscaped for sponsoring this channel. And when I was putting ornaments up on the tree, they all look so smooth, just like my balls. And my wife loves ornaments. Did you know that every time you take care of your balls, an angel gets its wings? So don't forget to smooth out your bobsled for a fun ride, everybody. All right. So Manscaped, thanks again for sponsoring this channel. And let's see. I also have to do this. If you use this code, it does help the channel, everybody. I just want to say that as well. If I lost my ad. I'm doing horrible right now. It's so bad.
You're not used to hosting and doing.
I'm
all
not.
this,
Yeah, because you're usually doing this. So here it is. Hold on.
Yeah.
All right. Everybody, get 20% off and free shipping with the code FUNSPECULATION at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use code FUNSPECULATION. Manscaped, get your jingle balls ready for the holidays. Yeah, it's 20% off and free shipping, and it is good products, everybody. I will say that I have used some, and Pong's been smooth since he was adolescent.
I was smooth before cool was, or before smooth was cool.
Pong's always been smooth. He's never actually. But once he saw one hair, he was like, "I got to get rid of this."
I don't use trimming products. I take a roll of duct tape and leave it there for like 3 days, and then
nice.
That's
it's great.
That's the world before Manscaped. Yeah.
Just 4 inches of duct tape.
It's like
And 2
Steve
days of waiting.
Carell and what was it in a 40-year-old virgin?
Yeah, 40-year-old version. Yeah.
Kelly Clarkson. I could imagine. Great. But I appreciate you, chat, and all. So hey, we do have some juice to get to.
Before we get to the juice real quick, Mav, since
Yeah.
we were just talking about games that came out this week, there's so many big games coming out that the smaller games get lost. And I wanted to point this one out. Promoted it on Living Split Screen last week, showed off the trailer, but I know a lot of people appreciate the indie stuff that's coming out. And this one really hasn't been talked about at all. It kind of slipped underneath everybody's kind of radar. And it caught my eye because I happened to be in the store, the Xbox store, looking at the games coming up, trying to plan out my budget. And this one popped up and I had to go check it out. For anybody who remembers Vanillaware back on the PS3 days with Dragon's Crown, which was a hand-drawn RPG, hand-painted backgrounds. Gorgeous, tons of fan service, girls in skimpy outfits, all that kind of stuff. 2D RPG. Gotta go check out Sword of the Vagrant. Sword of the Vagrant is, I believe, from I think they are a small Chinese developer, OTK Games and Daiko Company Ltd. They basically took Dragon's Crown artwork and made it their own. So it's hand-drawn, hand-painted backgrounds. It is a indie game through and through. I played it for probably like 30, 40 minutes last night. I found a couple bugs already. Again, this is a small-time developer, but this game is gorgeous, and it's a full RPG. It's got skill trees, it's got loot, it's got weapons, armor, magic. It's got all of it.
It's on Xbox?
And it's super cool. Yeah, it's on
Sounds
Xbox.
like a commercial.
Yeah, and it's only $10. It's only $10. There's a lot of different ways you could spend $10 right now. but this game has got it all. Like I said, it's not some small little title that you're going to look at and be like, what's it? No, it actually looks gorgeous. So go check out Sword of the Vagrant. It's one that's probably going to be buried in the store that you probably never see unless you see somebody playing it. But we showed the trailer last week on Living Split Screen, and there was people in the chat going, oh my God, this looks gorgeous. This is great. Oh, this is fantastic. So go check it out if you're looking for something smaller to play too right now.
Right on. Cool, man.
Yeah.
I never even heard of it, so that's good to know. Wow. Speaking of spending $10, we just had Brian, Silent Cypher, from Xbox International Podcast, one of the best out there in the community, dropped 50 with a very generous super chat. I appreciate you, dude. He says, cheers, gentlemen. Happy holidays. 100 beer emoji. Yeah, cheers to you, man. I hope you're having a great holidays as well. All right, so, it looks like there is going to be some potential offers made from Xbox to PlayStation. Word is they're potentially sitting down at the table doing a little bit of negotiating with PlayStation, which, if you've been listening to this show, it sounded like something that we always kind of anticipated was going to eventually happen as well. And this deal looks like it's getting closer and closer to the finish line. This is probably that last piece of the puzzle where the regulators were all making a big stink about Call of Duty because PlayStation was making a big stink about Call of Duty because they were, as Colt said, they're pissing themselves in fear. Much like what we said, I said this right after the CMA and all those arguments came out from Sony. I was like, really? If the regulators' only ammunition is Sony's Call of Duty stuff, this is like a checkmate for Xbox. Because that was something they were going to put on PlayStation anyway, right? So for this $70 billion acquisition, to be left alone from all the other perspectives for the most part and high focus on Call of Duty was like, okay, that's this easy peasy breezy squeezy. This deal's going to get done. And today, it even sounds like some of the analysts out there are predicting this deal's going to close as well, and trying to rest people's concerns because of a BS Politico article that came out a few days back. But yeah, it seems like this is getting to that table time of, okay, your three arguments from the CMA, the EU, the FTC, you're making it all about COD, where we've already addressed the labor issues. We've already addressed any of the other issues with the cloud, which they've already done with the EU as well. And now they are sitting at the table with the last piece of the puzzle, Call of Duty, and meeting with PlayStation to come to terms on some kind of a deal. So let's get into what those concessions may be. Like, the rumor is a 10-year licensing deal for Call of Duty. What does that necessarily mean? And is that something that Xbox has to do or to get this deal? Is it something they should do, or should they say F you Sony and FTC take us to court? I'm in the mind, I personally don't care, right? I just get the deal done, whatever. But let's I'm curious about your thoughts on this, Colt.
Well, my very first thought is, why in the world does Sony and PlayStation get to dictate a deal that they're not spending any money on? Why does PlayStation get to stand up to regulators and say, this is how this deal needs to go down with the money that Microsoft's spending? And I know it's about competition in the marketplace, but Nintendo's not doing this because PlayStation is worried that they will no longer have the runaway lead without rubber banding in a Need for Speed game. They're worried that they are going to, like I said earlier in the show, they're going to lose a ton of money every year because their bread and butter is not Uncharted. Their bread and butter is not The Last of Us or God of War. Spider-Man might be some of their bread and butter, but their bread and butter really is Call of Duty, Minecraft, major multiplats, games they don't own, they don't pay for, they don't own the studios, they don't run the studios. They make, and it's a console. You make most of your money off of the service fee you charge them to play online and to play that online game, which is Call of Duty. And they are scared and peeing themselves. I shouldn't say that anymore. I said it twice. That's enough. They're scared that they're going to lose a ton of money that has always come to them like a little gravy train. And Xbox has that gravy train too. And this deal is not about Call of Duty. This deal is about the mobile, getting the mobile footprint, because a game like Warzone, there's more people playing it on mobile than they are on PlayStation. And Xbox wants that foothold with mobile studios like Candy Crush with King, and Blizzard has a major, a lot of people don't love Diablo Immortal, but it's huge on mobile, made a ton of money, and Xbox wants to be on that platform. PlayStation's not there. They're so far behind. They're so stuck in the 2010s business model that it's not even funny. And they're feeling the sting, and they're going after and trying to cut the legs from under Xbox in this deal. And that's why people like me would complain about it. Like, what are you doing? It's not your $70 billion. It's not a purchase you went out and tried to get. I mean, it'd be one thing if PlayStation's like, we tried to buy Activision, but we got outbid by Microsoft, so now we're going to go cut the legs. No, you sat there and overpaid for Bungie, and then you turn around and said, oh yeah, our studios aren't good enough to make a game as big as Call of Duty. You insulted your own studio, Bungie, and your other studio, Guerrilla Games, and your studio that used to make SOCOM, and you cut out Insomniac. You got them working on 2 Marvel games instead of Resistance. So the fault is not with Xbox. The fault's with PlayStation. I think they should sit down, let this deal happen, and say, oh, guess what? You don't get to have a runaway monopoly on the console space. There's other people here who want to compete, and they want to. One more thing before I get off my soapbox, I'll sit down. They have bought half their studios, and they bought the other things. They bought all of their developer talent, so they didn't grow organically. They all have organic studios that they built from the ground up, sure, but PlayStation for decades has been buying their talent and building up their thing with a checkbook. And then it was like, well, you got Microsoft's getting whole publishers and ripping games away from PlayStation. Go buy a PC or buy an Xbox. This is how it goes. It's the same thing.
That's what PlayStation said before too, right? Didn't they say like go buy a PlayStation if you want to play Spider-Man?
Yeah,
that's what Insomniac said before, at least. You make some good points that, like, as far as like in a different world where things are not so political agendas at play here and politically focused, where a lot of grandstanding is taking place. A lot of these regulators like FTC and CMA and the EU are trying to use this deal as a way to vindicate their existence, almost like, hey, look, we did our job. We battled against this $70 billion deal, and we forced Microsoft's hand to make some concessions. So we did it, and we took on a big tech giant. And that's more about what's going on than anything else. And the other countries that know that they wouldn't have a shot to even really ever do anything, or don't really have much weight to pull, are all just like, yeah, we're throwing up our hands. What I loved most was Brazil's argument, because it pretty much slapped in the face of PlayStation, saying, PlayStation, you're idiots for this challenge because your points are all ludicrous. What was interesting also is the challenge the response to CMA's reasoning for going into phase 2, right? And when PlayStation put out that 17-page document or 11-page document, whatever it was, and all the points that they said against Microsoft was like about what could potentially happen. This is what could potentially happen one day if Microsoft gets control of Activision Blizzard properties, including Call of Duty. This is what could potentially happen. If you read all of the points of all the potential things that Microsoft could do, it read like an autobiography of what PlayStation has been doing over the last 20 years, right? And it's like, yes, I agree. There shouldn't have to be any concessions whatsoever. But at the same time, if what you're giving up is Call of Duty, as far as putting it on a PlayStation, if that's something that Microsoft was going to do anyway, isn't that like a checkmate for Microsoft, being like, haha, you idiots, you could have made this about controlling the landscape of cloud gaming or all these other things, but you made it about Call of Duty, the thing we were going to put on your platform anyway. So we're just signing off on this dumb agreement, and it is what it is,
Yeah.
I kind of feel like they've had checkmate on this thing because they've been a step ahead from the get-go. including the day after they announced the deal, sending Jim that 3-year offer, right? Setting the stage already for this time, right now. They knew this was coming. They've laid it out for us that it was going to be fiscal year 2023. It's like there's been no surprises whatsoever, but it's been so entertaining to see PlayStation squirm and cry, and they've never seen them in this position. Never seen them act like they're so weak to the public. It has been so amazing to see that while they're out there doing the opposite with their actions to the public as well. Anyway,
we called this, Mav.
We did.
We called this from the beginning. You can go back and watch our, I think it was PM and the PM right after the CMA or after the Brazil stuff came out.
Yeah.
And we talked about a lot of this. And then when the deal was announced publicly by Phil that he had offered a 3-year extension, and Jim did his response, called it right on our shows, saying that was a chess move. That was a complete 100% chess move by Microsoft and their $1 million attorneys to put Jim and Sony in this position that they're in right now. Because what's happening is they've painted themselves into a corner by focusing on Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Xbox had no ever desire to pull Call of Duty off PlayStation, no matter what you want to say. They never wanted to pull it. It was never going to be about that. But Sony making that one diamond out of a chest full of diamonds, and I've used that analogy time and time again, it was easy. That was easy for Microsoft to say, run with it, Sony. Go right ahead, run with it. We'll play your game. It's all about Call of Duty. In the background, they're hauling off this big chest full of everything else that they wanted out of this deal, which was much more important to them, like Colt just pointed out. The mobile side of things, of course. The PC side of things with Blizzard, of course. That's what they wanted. Call of Duty, yes, of course, it's a big deal. It's a big money maker, but Xbox wasn't going to sink that ship, Call of Duty-wise. They were never going to pull it off. Now, did they want to give up a 10-year deal if that's what winds up happening, per se? No, of course not. In business, you never want to give up that kind of power over that extended period of time. That's not what they wanted to do. So what did they do initially? They said, we'll give you 3 years, an extension. That's how you do it. You don't give up the GOAT right away.
Yeah.
They let Jim come out and complain about it. They let Jim go back to the EU, complain some more. Oh, they're trying to, look, they only want to give us 3 years because they're going to foreclose on this, and then we're going to be out of luck and all. They wanted that to happen because now what is going on behind the scenes, Microsoft and Xbox have now gotten the lay of the land. They've gotten the feelings from all the regulators, what the regulators are really looking at, what they want out of this. And now they've got Sony box because now they say, okay, let's go talk. Let's go talk at the table. Now we're going to give you a 10-year deal. Now what are you going to complain about? Now what's your point going to be? Because you've ignored everything else out of this whole scenario. Now we're going to give you a deal that is well beyond the norm in this industry. There is no way that you can try to say that we're still trying to foreclose if we're giving you a deal that no other company would ever give you, including Activision, in any scenario. So we're going to offer you something ridiculous. And then they could turn around, as we talked about, Mav, time and time again, and look at the regulators and go, now what? You see, we're giving them this incredible deal, and now they're still trying to balk at this. If Sony were to balk at this, that's going to look horrible. The regulator's going to be looking at Sony going, yeah, wait a minute. You guys came in here. Jim, you sat down with us. We had coffee. We had brunch together.
Beans and toast.
And all you did was talk. Yeah, all you did was talk about Call of Duty the entire time. Now Microsoft is putting their money where their mouth is and saying, we'll give them a 10-year deal. And you still got a problem? Wait a minute. What's been going on here, Jim, this whole time? You've been playing us like puppets this whole entire time, trying to use us as your negotiating tool. And Mav, you're right as well. Obviously, another topic that we talked about plenty of times is that, you know, when Colt says that this should not even be happening, you're absolutely 100% Colt. Yeah. In a common sense world with the regulators following the letter of the law, you're right. No company should dictate what another company does with a $70 billion deal if it's not infringing upon kind of monopolies, or doing some
especially
kind
if
of
it's not hurting the consumers,
right? Giving them an 80%, 90% controlling factor in an industry, which again, this industry is the best and the healthiest it's ever been. It's honestly, it's expanding constantly. It's changing constantly. Nothing is guaranteed from year to year in this industry ever. But the fact is that, to Mav's point, we're not in a common sense time. We're in this place where these regulatory bodies, these government bodies, do have certain agendas. They do want to put their stamp on things, even when they shouldn't be trying to put their stamp on it, because they want to wave their record around and say, oh, look what we did. Look what we did. We got Microsoft and Xbox to give up 10 years. Look at this. We win.
Oh, and once
we let
that
the deal go through,
signed,
but we win.
they will be doing so as well.
Yes,
the CMA will have emojis all over the place on Twitter celebrating, with like birthday balloons and stuff, birthday cakes and stuff. They're like, look, Call of Duty is going to be on PlayStation still. We did this for you.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. But that's exactly what's going to happen. But I think that if the sit down really did happen, of course, we don't know. These are all sourced comments. If the sit down really did happen, I think it's exactly how Microsoft and Xbox kind of line this up. Everybody's got to get back to business, Colt. Like you were talking about.
Yeah.
News, games, everything has been dry. And on the Xbox side, it's been really dry after this ABK deal announcement. And a lot of people believe, whether you believe it or not, Colt, I don't know, that a lot of this is due to the fact that they don't want to create any ripples right now at all. No good kind of news whatsoever, because they're trying to play victim too. And so everybody's got to get back to business. Now we hear that Sony may have nothing to show, or maybe they did have stuff that they wanted to show that they pulled back from. Now we're hearing Xbox might not be at the VGAs as much as they normally would be because of this. Everybody's got to get back to business. Everybody does. So eventually Sony's got to realize, and I'm sure they realized a long time ago, that they didn't have a winning argument here, that they got to take what they can get, whether it's forced concessions from the regulatory bodies or a sit-down meeting with Phil and Jim and the heads, and they work out a deal, a long-term extensive deal for Call of Duty. They got to take what they can get, because everybody's got to get down to it again. It's coming into a new year. You can't be in this turmoil. Microsoft wants this done and over with. They don't want to be wrapped up in legal fights for another year, 2 years over this. They want this done because the value that they're taking home in all the other parts of Activision Blizzard besides Call of Duty is so much greater than what they see Call of Duty as.
The concession for Call of Duty is like a no-brainer. I've said it many times that they crunch the numbers and they're like, look, just leave it on PlayStation. We'll make this much if we have it on Game Pass, and it's not available on PlayStation. But we ran the numbers. We'll make this much if we keep it on PlayStation and make money off of that platform. Yeah. And then Microsoft's like, all right, let's just use that as a concession because we need to get this deal done because the mobile money we make is way up here. It doesn't even compare. And they're not thinking about, well, what are the list war boys going to say? They don't care about the list war boys.
Nope.
And like PlayStation guys are like, what do you care? Either way, you're going to get Activision games either way. And I'm really starting to think that there will be almost no exclusives from Activision and Blizzard. And the reason why is because Overwatch and Diablo will be multi-plat. There Overwatch already is. Diablo is going to come out. It's going to be multi-plat, even if the deal happened to break and finish by March.
Yes,
I think that's just going to be multi-plat. They're just going to let that go. And the Diablo games will probably always be multi-plat. And what else does Blizzard make?
They have a new survival game. So the question is the new IPs, right?
So the new IP, the survival game, Jez Corden says he can see that being exclusive. But if it's an multiplayer open world survival game, they may just say, look, Activision and Blizzard, they work independently. Let's just leave them multi-plat. And then all those 6 studios all work on the ones that used to make Transformers, Cybertron games. All those studios, the ones that made the other kid games like Kart Racers and stuff, they're all working on Call of Duty, and that machine's not going to stop. So Activision, you can just expect them to be multi-plat forever. And then Blizzard, their biggest IPs are going to stay multi-plat. And the new game is a mobile kid game that ZeniMax is working on. Like that's going to, I don't know, it's like you got this situation where Xbox is not really worried about exclusives. And Tim Dog said today that Game Pass is this exclusive platform. Like, but for me, the Activision thing's out the window. I don't really care. Those games were not the games that I fell in love with. Xbox just needs that. If they need it as a vehicle.
They need it as a vehicle, 100%. Cole, it's a great way to put it. But if they do wind up pulling back from Call of Duty in some way, shape, or form, if they start lengthening the time between releases, all that kind of stuff that we've kind of heard are potential. If Phil does pull a couple of those teams off of Call of Duty and they do wind up bringing back a franchise, I think those are exclusive. I think if StarCraft comes back, it's exclusive to PC and Xbox. I don't think that goes to PlayStation at all. But I think that, to Mav's point, that anything new down the road, if they wind up going that route, if they bring back like a prototype or something like that out of the blue, I think that would be exclusive to Xbox. But again, to your point, the rest of it, no, there's no reason. There is no reason.
Xbox, I think they put out like this, like the chart thing explaining like the kind of games that deserve exclusivity versus the ones that don't, or like, and they kind of like took Starfield and kind of put it in this category and put Call of Duty and Minecraft and put it in like this category, right? And I feel like a lot of Activision's games right now are in that category, like Overwatch is, and Call of Duty is, and Diablo is, right? But some of the other games I do expect, because one of the things originally right after this deal was made, Phil immediately came out and he talked about how excited he was to see what all they had in their lineup. To see, and he talked about wanting to meet after this deal's done with all the teams and see what they want to work on, right? So when the Call of Duty train isn't going to stop, I agree with that. I think there's going to be a change potentially within the structure of how that happens, right? I don't feel like they're going to force High Moon and Toys for Bob and Beanox and all these devs to say you have to go support Call of Duty. You're not allowed to do your own projects anymore, right? I think they're going to potentially free some of these or potentially grow those studios like they have with all the other studios that they've added separate teams to them. Microsoft is in a better financial position to actually just fully flesh out the Call of Duty team and separate the studios and individually to be able to put those teams on other projects. I think I don't know what 100% is going to happen with ABK after this deal's done, but I think the vision for what it would mean to Game Pass is more than Call of Duty in and of itself, right? And I think it has a lot to do with potentially new games coming back, or old games coming back, and some new games. It's not going to happen overnight. Look at like all these acquisitions. Everyone's like, where are the games, right? We've had Obsidian and all these developers. Obsidian's the only one that's put out stuff really that hadn't already been and really about to release after the acquisition, right? So besides them, really all those acquisitions have not amounted to squat yet, but they are going to, right? And I think it'll take just as long for ABK to have those same results. So it could be like 2030 before we start seeing a lot of stuff come from different studios. Who knows, man? I mean, but overall, it's going to be interesting. The most interesting thing to me, though, besides all this, is I don't remember a time in gaming where, because this is kind of being forced between Microsoft and PlayStation, right? PlayStation doesn't want to lose COD. It's too important to them. Microsoft has to deal with PlayStation because of this acquisition, right? Now, they've put games on each other on platforms before. We got MLB The Show on Xbox. We got Minecraft on PlayStation, stuff like that. But those were just like, hey, we're just going to put the game on there or whatever. And Xbox went behind PlayStation's back to the MLB to get the show and stuff. So, but this is the first time they're going to actually potentially be in some kind of like contractual agreement over putting games on their platforms for any kind of long period of time. And I find that extremely interesting to see what kind of long-term effects that could potentially have with more than Call of Duty. Like, it's, I don't want to.
Well, if you listen to King and PlayStation winds up being a publisher next generation, then that would be the start of a relationship because they'll publish on Xbox anyways.
Well, in 10 years, everybody's just a publisher with ecosystems. Right. I mean, it's all ecosystems, and there's going to be hardware, but that's going to be an option. You know what I mean? So it already is an option on Xbox. You don't even have to own an Xbox. You don't even have to own a console, or you can just get a screen and put the app up. You know, it's a different world now. You know, PlayStation will be there eventually, just a lot slower.
Colt, do you care at all if it's not exclusive? Do you care?
Call of Duty?
Any of it? Any of the stuff?
A little bit,
Okay.
because Xbox needs to have exclusive games to their platform that you can only get if you're in the ecosystem and signed in Xbox Live. Like, that's important to their business model to how they make their money and reciprocate that back into the studios. But like I said, like, I think it's super important that something big like Call of Duty just makes a bunch of money for Activision and for Xbox. Like, that's what they want. And I think the Call of Duty is just gravy. It's the icing on the cake.
Right.
They were teaming for the King and Candy Crush and the mobile developers. They got a couple of they got at least one mobile developer with Bethesda, and now they've got one or two with Activision. So that's super important to them, because that's where they're moving. Like, when somebody told me, that so many more people play Call of Duty Warzone on mobile than they do on console, and I'm like, they're playing that game like on like a native version on the phone, like not cloud. Like, no, it's a native version. I'm like, holy crap! Like, that is going to be a big deal. The only thing that holds you back is the screen size or the way you control it, right? It's just a reality, I guess, we're going to come up with. The reality that isn't here yet is where you just stream a game on your big TV and you have a wireless controller and it feels more normal. And we're getting there, but
getting there.
I'm not worried about the exclusivity thing.
Right.
And I'm also would say, on the record, I think half of Bethesda's games will be multi-plat as well. ZeniMax is working on a big new IP, 200 people working on it.
Yeah.
They're working on a big MMO, and it's definitely not Fallout or Elder Scrolls related. It's a new IP, so it's something different. So that will be a multi-plat. That will come out on everything. They want everyone to be on that game, every week. And any remasters, like if there happened to be a Fallout 3 in New Vegas, like overhaul remaster, which we guess isn't coming, that would be multi-plat.
Yeah, because the Fallout 4 gen patch is going to PlayStation next year.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, they want to keep those games alive.
It's just it's interesting that the PlayStation is going to the regulators and crying and saying, he pulled my hair, when everything they buy except for Bungie is like, we bought them, it's ours. And they even pretend like games they don't own are ours. Final Fantasy's ours. What was it? I had Kingdom Hearts, that's ours, until the whole entire series comes to Game Pass. They kind of pretend like these are ours. We have these Square Enix games are ours, only on PlayStation. It's been going on for so long. And I remember when I first started doing my channel, people were like, oh, that game's on Xbox? I go, yeah. It was like Star Wars Battlefront 1 in 2015. That's on Xbox? I go, yeah, it's on Xbox. I mean, it's 900p instead of 1080p. Right. Well, I thought that was a PlayStation game. I'm like, I suppose you would. You go into a store, there's big boards that say exclusive to PlayStation, because they had like a wrist bracelet you could wear.
The same with Destiny. Destiny 1 was
that's what I was gonna say, but Destiny's also it's one that everybody thought was exclusive, right?
Yep.
Now they actually own Bungie, right? And so now that Sony bought Bungie, what I found interesting looking back at all of this now with how Sony's been challenging to the regulators about Call of Duty, about what they could do with this franchise. It's a big shooter and in the space and it's one of a kind. I am surprised a little bit that none of the regulators, maybe it's because Microsoft didn't challenge it, even asked a question about Destiny, because PlayStation pretty much said the same thing. Like, hey, those games are going to remain everywhere. Bungie said we're going to operate independently, kind of the same way that they're talking about with ABK, right? That they're still going to be able to run things kind of independently as well. So it's very interesting to me that there was never a question about what's going to happen to Destiny if now that Sony owns them. And it just that acquisition actually was announced after the ABK, and it went through like really rapid fast, right?
Yeah.
So there was no challengers. Microsoft didn't care. right?
No.
So it's
No.
just so funny that, PlayStation has just made such a big deal about this while they've actually went and acquired another big time first person shooter. And if you don't think that Bungie is a big deal, that they own them, Bungie made Halo. Bungie made Destiny. Bungie is making another game.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Their games have changed the industry both times they've released them. Destiny was the first $60 game that came out that was like a 10-year live service, ongoing AAA type thing, right?
Which didn't work out.
It didn't work out, but they got it right finally with Destiny 2 after a lot of tweaking and all these things, right? They changed the industry with Destiny. People still play Destiny like crazy, right? People in this community, Lord Cognito, Back from the Dead, all those guys like just obsessed with it. And it has these clans and everything, and this huge community that's just obsessed with Destiny. It's all they play. A lot of people, it's like that's all they play still is Destiny. But there was never a question. You know what I mean? And that's just so crazy to me. And what Bungie makes next will be a big deal. Yeah, it'll be multi-plat because Bungie's already came out and said so. But why take them at their word from all the regulators? You know what I mean? Because they're challenging that Microsoft is lying. So I just find that odd. It's like a little hypocrisy there between that deal. The only difference is one deal is $70 billion and has a lot more involved, and the other deal is $3 billion. But if we take it down to just IPs, Destiny versus Call of Duty, because that's the only thing they've been making a big deal about is Call of Duty.
There's still some of that, Microsoft bias against them from back in the day, right? There's still some people who view Microsoft as the old Microsoft, and big tech is under scrutiny right now across the board, and Sony doesn't fall into that category. They just don't. They're not that company. And you could say, well, it's Xbox, so it should be different, but it's not. It is Microsoft, and so they get this. They get the extra microscopes. And the last thing I'll leave everybody with here too is when you think about this deal, to Colt's point again about the mobile side and something that we've talked about constantly, and I know like people like have said like, hey, they're lying about this, that's not, they don't really want King. This was always about Call of Duty. You guys aren't looking at the big picture. Microsoft is gearing up for their next big battle, which is the mobile app store battle. And they need these, like Colt said, for that war against Apple and Google, because that's coming, folks.
You know how much weight they'll be able to hold against Apple and Google because they'll hold those properties? They will hold Candy Crush. And guess what? Candy Crush has been the #1 money-making mobile game for, 21 quarters in a row?
Yes.
Yeah.
On mobile?
Yes.
That is insane. And to think that they will have control over that and be able to use that as leverage against Apple and against Google is
when they're
crazy.
creating their own app store now. And that's the next big battle for Microsoft. And that's why this deal, again, Phil, Satya, they weren't lying when they said King was the #1 priority. That's exactly what they're going to use this for. They're going to shoehorn their way in. They're going to be back in front of these regulators again, battling Apple and Google's duopoly on the mobile market, saying this is unfair. Microsoft is going to be in the position of saying these guys have an actual duopoly. We want in. You have to let us in, fair and square. So it's going to be interesting, but that's the next big one.
Yeah, I just want this deal to close. Like, not because I'm sick of talking about it. I actually love talking about it, to be honest. Because when do we live in this era where these things happen? I mean, this never happened really before, right? But I want it to close because I'm sick of these companies holding back. This era we're in right now of them holding back, people talking about potentially the Game Awards with some speculation that both companies could potentially hold back at the Game Awards because they don't want to look bad to the regulators right now. I just think it's so. I'm not calling the people that think that's stupid. I'm saying that thought process to me is so stupid. It's like saying, "Hey, we're a video game company that doesn't make video games." Like all the games that they've already announced, are these regulators that fucking stupid that they don't know that these games even exist?
Well, actually, Mav, they are clueless about what these studios and what these platforms have. And I was talking to Hargeet Chani before the show went up. We were talking about this specific thing, and he kind of turned the light bulb on for me. and explained that the regulators have no idea about how this business works. They don't know about what's been announced. So right now, we're afraid that Xbox is going to pretend like they didn't announce Avowed, Hellblade,
right,
Fable, Perfect Dark. And there's that speculation from Jez, who's just using an educated guess that they won't show anything because then the regulators are like, what? You have these big major IPs that we've heard of? I thought you said you didn't have anything. It might be a reality that it's not worth it because they got to take a $3 billion hit if the deal cancels, right? If it closes, they have to take, or not closes would be good. If they have to, who wants to pay that just because they wanted to get their fans excited about stuff they already know is coming? Because we're in this situation where there's no reason why Obsidian shouldn't be ready to show us 1 minute of actual in-engine something, even if it isn't combat, something of proof of life of Avowed, or maybe something of the of Perfect Dark, or a release date with combat gameplay, real combat, hand-to-hand combat for Hellblade. And I'm scratching my head like, why aren't they showing this? And the only thing that comes back is their hands are tied. They're trying to give them more time. It's not worth it to go out on a limb and say, look, here's a minute and a half of something that we think looks amazing. The studio's really confident about it. And they certainly don't want to talk about some of these other IPs that we only know by project names because of people like Jez Corden and Jeff Grubb. So I think I'm in for a major disappointment at the Game Awards. PlayStation didn't do their showcase. PlayStation's not going to have a presence at the Game Awards, and Xbox might not have some other than here's a Game Pass ad. Play yummy gooby on Game Pass and play yoki doki boki.
Those
it's like
are probably real games. Actually,
real games like where you're throwing fruit at raccoons. Gosh dang it, Xbox. The Xbox is in the worst situation right now where their fans are fed up. I can't tell you how many times I've made videos that I love. I'm so convicted and think I did such a great job in these videos. And true Xbox fans are in my comment section say, why do I have to wait another year? I'm tired of waiting. And they say, if they don't deliver in 2023, I'm gone. I'm like, you've said that for 5 or 6 years straight.
Since 2016.
And it's ridiculous because I like Colin Moriarty. The guy's really smart. But the problem with Colin Moriarty is he's not keyed in on the ecosystem and the trajectory for Xbox. Like the way he talks, I can tell is like, well, you've heard of some of the stuff, but you don't know where they're at.
So he's less knowledge than some of the EU regulators.
He's intellectually dishonest. He knows.
Well, I mean, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say he doesn't dive into the specifics of what's going on with Xbox like he does PlayStation. Because if you're paying attention, Xbox Game Studios was established in 2018, but really 2019 when they actually bought more than 2 studios. Correct. And since then, those studios have done nothing. I'm going to get close for this. Those studios have done nothing except for release multiplats and contractual PlayStation exclusives. Right. And they've been around for 4 to 5 years under Xbox's moniker, right? Yes. What have they released? Wasteland for PlayStation and Xbox. Double Fine for PlayStation and Xbox with Psychonauts 2. What else? Ghostwire Tokyo.
Yeah,
Deathloop. Yep. They've had some remasters that were in the pipeline, multiplat. And if you go around all the studios with Bethesda, because you don't count Activision, they don't own them, with Bethesda and then the Xbox Game Studios, they've put out games. Yeah, we got the Halo Infinite and the Gears and the Flight Sim, right? We got all that stuff. Yeah. They haven't had a chance to release anything because Phil says, we're still going to honor our contractual obligations. And like in 2020, we're like, oh, shit, we're going to be riding high on games. And then we just realized how many money-had games PlayStation had, or the other games that they're already contractually obligated to be multiplat. So when Colin says, where are the games? I'm like, what do you mean, where are the games? Where have you been for 4 years?
Right.
Yeah. Like, do the math. They've been putting out games on your favorite platform. Yes, Thank you very much.
Yes.
Yeah. And then he has the audacity to say Starfield is not an Xbox game. They had nothing to do with it.
Oh, yeah.
It's not their responsibility. And then he turns around 5 minutes later and says, oh, they delayed it a year because, Xbox is running them now and, they have management problems.
Right. It's right. Right. And you got Todd Howard
Holy
talking
smokes.
about Xbox engineers working directly on Starfield to make it the best thing ever. Yeah, they got
Yeah.
nothing to do with it. Nothing.
Yeah, and also Double Fine, Psychonauts
Fine.
2
Yes.
was the game that it was because of the extra time and money that Xbox put into that game.
There were no bosses until Xbox gave them time and breathing room and funding.
Correct.
And here's another thing. Oh my gosh. Okay, I've wrote this on Twitter, but not a lot of people are on Twitter. Here's the other thing, guys. Xbox's first parties games over the past 10 years, or let's just say from the Xbox One, where that was garbage according to everybody, right? From the Xbox One through the Series X launch at this point, all of Xbox's first party owned studio games that they created have been well done, highly rated, and fantastically loved games. Except, and this is funny, except for State of Decay 2 and Sea of Thieves. Sea of Thieves and State of Decay 2, if they got one extra year of delay, which back then Microsoft's like, no, we don't want to delay. It looks bad. We just rather put out a game that's broken.
Yeah.
If Sea of Thieves and State of Decay 2 would have come out in 2019, they would have been 10 points higher and not, looked down upon.
Yeah, well, even
so
those
if you look at all
those
their
two
other
games have massive communities, Colt. And
especially Sea of Thieves. Like Sea of Thieves would not be a 68, it would be a 78. And I'm being like, I would go to Superior Court with that if the game came out a year later, it would have landed at a 78. Like, oh, it's really cool. It's neat what it does. The community's got a lot of stuff to do there, but
yeah, did they have game preview back then? I think that when Sea of Thieves came out,
they had a big alpha. They didn't do game preview.
Yeah, they should have done a game preview like they did with Grounded.
They did a 1 week open beta, and that was really great. And we're like, oh, there's gonna be more content when it's done, or when it launches. Like they're just showing you a little thing. But here, there's one game that Randall Thor corrects me on. And I'm not looking at the chat right now because I'm trying to keep my thoughts in order. But he says, I have to count Crackdown. And I'm like, Rand, Crackdown was made by Sumo Digital, who typically works with PlayStation. And Crackdown 3 was one of the worst rated games in all of Xbox's first party lineup, probably 15 years. And it's a 60 out of 100, right? It's a rated D game if you're going by your school grades. Sure. But Sumo Digital did it. But Rand's like, Colt, they funded it. They were helping with the development. It's their IP. And I'm like, yeah. And I've also noticed the third-party game studios they worked with last generation, which is a totally different management, who've all been like kicked out of the team. Matrick and Terry Meyerson and all those people, they're gone. But under Phil's tutelage and his direction, Phil came in like in the 8th inning and said, look, you guys need to delay Crackdown. It doesn't feel right. And he gave him an extra year. And I think he was manager's probably like, look, we can't delay games. We got to get them out because Xbox was in it. I'm sorry. I apologize. I just like railroaded your show, but people need to understand this. If you're ever in like a GameSpot or an IGN or a Reddit or a Twitter or whatever comment section, somebody goes, over the Xbox Game Studios, just set them straight.
I always see
it gets so annoying
from people like when I'm saying I'm excited about what's coming for Xbox. I'm like, what's coming? Like they don't have anything coming, and I'm like, dude, do you even freaking know? Like I actually have a spreadsheet on my PC, and it's got all the game projects from Xbox on it, and there's like literally like 50 games, like big games that are already that just publicly been talked about. That doesn't even include the ones that we're assuming that are like the rumors, the speculation ones. I'm talking about games like the Cinemax one you talked about, right? Where they've actually said we're working on a project. Obsidian's got another game, or, these things that they've actually talked about. Compulsion, In Exile. All of these studios have actually publicly acknowledged that they have their game and they're excited about it and they can't wait to show it and all these things. Those are all things. Plus, there's got all the Perfect Darks and Fables and Avoweds and Hellblade 2s and State of Decay 3s and Forza Motorsport and Starfield and Redfall and all of these games. It's like they don't exist to people because they don't care about Xbox. So they don't know and they don't follow the news. So they just assume, right? And it's just the way it's always been for a long time anyway. But what was fascinating to me is that you mentioned Colin Moriarty, and I do think he's an extremely intelligent guy, and I was a fan of his back in the Beyond days on IGN, right? And when I would listen to Greg Miller and him on Beyond, and I listened to a lot of those big podcasts back then, but when he said he didn't believe Phil about Game Pass profitability,
that's
it's like, and I gotta shout out to Gaz about, he called it. He said please don't do this, but he actually ended up doing it when Phil said it was profitable. And the thing I gotta say is, if everybody was so concerned about sustainability and profitability of Game Pass, why are you not concerned about sustainability and profitability about PlayStation right now? Because have you seen their financials the last time?
I mean, Jim admitted he's admitted, plus everything they've said to the regulators backs up that they're big, high quality, or as Colin called them, expensive, high quality games. When he says expensive, like $70, they're not charging $20 for little small, early access games. He's like, when you get the expensive Country Club, Jim has admitted that it's not enough. They're not making enough money. They need to get to PC as soon as they can get to PC, and they need to fill out their roster with 10 games as a service games. Like, it's pretty obvious that
investing in mobile now too.
Yeah, and like making a big game like Horizon Forbidden West, it makes you look like you have, escargot, top bougie charcuterie games, right? Where you're giving people like this high quality, 3 Michelin star restaurant experience. They're not making enough money off that. Yeah, they're making their movie studios and their big cinematic games. They're turning a profit. But Jim Ryan sits back and goes, well, look, this guy makes Vampire Survivors, and he gets like a 300% return on the game. Like, something's not right here. And I'm a YouTuber, and I make videos on YouTube, and sometimes I'll spend 4 hours on a video, and then my friend will spend a half an hour on a video, he'll get more views. Like, I spent more time and money on my video. And it's a laugh we have together, right? And I feel like Jim Ryan feels that way. He's like, we're not getting the bang for the buck. Like, we're bringing in motion capture, top quality artists from the movie industry, and we have the best developers, and we're paying them 5 to 6 years to develop and hone to make the game look more amazing than anything, because everyone knows the better the game looks, the more expensive it costs to develop. He's like, we're doing all this, and then we only make $12 million, or I don't know what the figure is, and these other games, they throw all these people together and they make 10 times more. It's not fair. And then he's like, Xbox wants to just get more bang for the buck, and it's not fair.
Well, you saw the financials when it came out from Microsoft and Sony last time. Their quarterlies came out pretty close to each other, right? And Xbox's was, guess what? It was sustained because of subscriptions and services like Game Pass. That's why they actually were able to maintain a steady financials report, actually. And they said that even their consoles hardware was down, it was helped out because of their services. Whereas PlayStation side, guess what? Their services were suffering. They're losing subs. They're bleeding subs. Their hardware was down as well, right? They're actually had a lot lower than they had expected on their financials, right? So if you're going to cry and be out there talking about, and this is not just for him, this is for everybody that's been talking about Game Pass and being concerned about, is Game Pass profitable? I'm worried about Microsoft's money for some reason, sustainability, all this bullshit, which has been proven, because it's not just about one for one, how much is outgoing versus incoming. It's about growing Xbox, right? And it's been very successful at that, right? And it's been sustaining the brand and growing the brand as a whole, which is all that matters, right? Why is that same concern not being held right now for PlayStation when their financials are actually going the other direction, right? The other thing is, yes, even though they're selling really well, they are losing market share this generation, in a generation where Xbox has only had a couple of big first-party games so far, right? PlayStation's had a lot more. So, yes, they're still selling more technically this generation, but it's more closer to 60-40 or so than last generation was more like 4-1, right? That's not something that you want to see. That does not make you happy if you're a platform that is solely focused and has been on selling a box and putting games on the box and getting people to play those games on that box. If you're focused so much on the hardware and you're losing market share, that is a bad projection for the future. Why is nobody concerned about that? I don't know. Anyway.
Because they want Sony to rule all. They want everybody to fall in line behind Sony and play the same game that's always been played. They don't want anything to change, and they know Microsoft is changing the game. That's why. And they know Sony's
So would they blame Microsoft for this?
Yes, of course they will. They do. Colin has. Again, that's why you hear, oh, they're diluting everything. That Game Pass is going to dilute the quality of games. And we're going to wind up all getting mobile games. That's all we're going to get now from here on out due to Game Pass.
I love how he says it's not profitable, and all the studios are going to have to say, okay, we have to dial everything back because we can no longer afford it. But then he's so worried about Microsoft's like unending wallet, like bottomless pit of a wallet where it's just like money just shoveling out. And you got Bill Gates dancing around to Rolling Stones.
Like 95.
I always like Windows 95 launch.
Gosh, I watched that today. I'm like, man, what a bunch of nerds, like in their pleated Dockers and
their polos. It was just ridiculous.
Oh gosh.
Belts up to past their belly buttons.
It's so funny because people are like, oh, that's so 80s. I'm like, no, that's mid 90s.
Yeah, totally.
Yikes.
That's what happens when you get a bunch of business guys together like that.
Yeah, and they're like,
Gates wasn't
like
even
me at the club, right? Yeah, it's like, we're gonna go to the club at E3. It's gonna be so great. We're gonna get lit, and I'll be like, "Stop you up!"
Nice. Oh man, yeah, those videos still cracks me up every time I see it, dude.
Yeah, it was like trending today.
Yeah, I saw it all over the place. We got some super chats to get to, guys. Shout out to, I gotta see where I left off here. Shout out to Alvin with a $5 super chat. He says, are we sure the new ZeniMax Online game will be multiplat? PlayStation definitely isn't the main platform for Elder Scrolls Online, which is very successful. I think it's a chance it could be. I don't know.
I'm just that's my educated guess. Yeah, when I say that. Yeah.
Let's see.
Don't be shocked, I guess.
Yeah, don't be shocked. Indiana Jones, is it multiplat?
Gosh. Now I'm probably going to work on a video for this, but I've made a really good case before and against it being exclusive. So I might have to go back and look at what I've said, but it's they've had exclusive LucasArts or Lucas and Marvel IPs before. We've got Spider-Man. So they're not, everyone's like, well, they're never going to take Indiana Jones is a it's an IP that belongs to everyone. They're not going to make it exclusive to Xbox. I'm like, are you hearing yourself? You just gave me a lecture about Spider-Man and how I can't have it on Xbox.
Well, that's different, Colt. That's different because of the movie rights.
Your standards straightened out a little bit.
Gotta quick move the goalpost.
Nintendo has Marvel Ultimate Alliance as well as an exclusive.
Yeah, and that used to be multi-plat game. It used to be on phones and Xbox 360 and stuff. But
and there's a precedent for Indiana Jones on Xbox as well, because there was old Indiana Jones.
But one of the other problems against that argument is that they pitched it in like 2019 to Lucasfilm, and Bethesda was independent, and I asked somebody about the legal part of it. So they pitched it to him, and at the time Bethesda was on PlayStation and Xbox and PC. So it never would have come up like, oh, is this going to be exclusive to Xbox or PlayStation? And Bethesda probably didn't, maybe that wasn't even in the writing. But at this point, like, would Phil go back and say, oh, you guys originally wrote this, there's a whole legal document about this Indiana Jones IP lending agreement, and we can't go in and change it to exclusive to Xbox. So it might be just multi-plat because the deal was signed 2 years before they acquired them, or 1 year. 1 year.
So
the other problem is,
I got to ask a question real quick about this, right? Because hypothetically, in a world, right? The Sony deal that they made with Aspire, is that right? Aspire, and to make Knights of the Old Republic, to make Knights of the Old Republic remake, right? So what if there was a world where Sony and Bethesda, because we know Bethesda and Sony were talking a lot because of the exclusivity deals for Ghostwire Tokyo and Deathloop. What if this was
Starfield?
And they wanted Starfield as well. What if there was a world where the Bethesda talk extended into a talk with Sony and Bethesda approaching Disney for Indiana Jones? And we have, I mean, would that be something that would have been signed ahead of time between Sony I'm not trying to I'm not trying to step on anything. I'm just saying, right? Xbox hasn't really talked much about Indiana Jones at all. In fact, the only things I remember seeing it was Todd Howard's like whole promotional video about it, right? So I'm just putting that out there. That is because of the Disney Sony Asper game. This is something that, who knows? You know what I mean? Could have potentially been already in the works before.
Yeah, I mean, I talked to somebody that worked with licensing with the F1 franchise for PlayStation, and he said that multi-plat or exclusive doesn't even come into the equation until way later. So he thought that this thing was still open for interpretation, and then they're like, oh, hey, Phil's like, we want to buy you, Todd, and Todd's like, oh, cool. He's like, what do you guys have in the works? He's like, well, we're working on this Indiana Jones game with Machine Games, and we're working on Starfield. And Phil's like, okay, cool. We definitely want to get Starfield exclusive, and can we get Indiana Jones? He's like, well, let me check with Lucasfilm and see what we have in the agreement. Like that, maybe that's the discussion. And then they come back and say, hey, we can probably make it done. And I know that Phil has said publicly he's not in the business of buying IPs that do not belong to him. He doesn't want to go out and pay for Indiana Jones if it was to be, if you're going to say a name, because he said that I'm not interested in buying IPs that pre-exist. They want to build up their own IPs, create them, or use the ones they have. So if there was any money that had to be exchanged, Phil probably would have said, no, we're not even going to worry about it. Like, why? Just release it on PlayStation. We'll make money off of them. So there's an interesting discussion that I'm probably going to break down into video and dig into the legal part of it and talk to some of the people I talk to that know the legal ramifications of what's going on.
I would just hope that it wasn't some kind of deal like Deathloop or Ghostwire Tokyo had already in legally. And I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't. None of us really know that. But shout out to a Nutchinya in the chat says that that it was shown at Nutchinya that it was at the Xbox show. I don't remember that ever being at an Xbox show. I could be wrong.
What, Indiana Jones?
Yeah. Was it at an
No,
Xbox
it was tweeted out in a tweet, and I think it was a unlisted or privated video on their channel, so it was only shared on Twitter, and then IGN uploaded it with their gigantic logo in the corner.
Was it on Xbox's YouTube channel?
No, it was on Bethesda's Twitter account. It was a 30-second video posted on as a Twitter video, and then IGN snagged it and uploaded it on their channel and got millions of views from their screen recording with their gigantic red logo in the corner that covers up 20% of the screen. Hi, I'm IGN. Hope you saw me.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I used the trailer so much that I kept cropping out their logo because they don't own it. They don't own rights to it. I don't think they were sent the footage. Maybe they were. Who knows?
Yeah, I'm 99%, but 99.999999% sure that this is going to be an Xbox game. I'm 60% sure it's going to be an Xbox exclusive, but there's that 0.00001% chance that there could have been some kind of deal out there. It just
I don't think they're legally bound is where I'm standing on it right now.
That's what I hope. Like, I think the chance that there could have been a deal is actually a little higher than that. But like, if they could get around it, then let's hope so. Because I don't know how we would need like a lawyer to actually that handles these things to kind of discuss that. But yeah. So we also have X Burke with the $5 super chat as well. Appreciate you. Says COD will be exclusive to Game Pass with full advertising privileges. Put a cork in it. What this entails trumps everything. Compete. Let us compete. Spooky the Breathtaking Gamer with the 8 what is the $8 Australian? Is that what it is?
Dollar.
$8 super chat from there. My buddy Spooky Sprocket says some of the IP from this deal needs to be allowed to be exclusive so they can draw new customers to the Xbox ecosystem. Yeah, the question is if that's the final draw in the sand to get the deal approved or not. I think Xbox obviously doesn't want to have to put games on PlayStation if they don't want to.
Right.
But at what point is the King stuff not worth the legal fight over that and things like that? So it's just interesting. And I do think even if there was like concessions around other games, I would imagine there's a lot of loopholes and stuff they would put into these contracts and stuff about, well, if PlayStation is no longer this much in the market share in the market, do we still have to put your game on your platform? If you don't have a next generation console, do we still have to put the games on their platform? You know what I mean? Like things like that. Like that's going to be a discussion, I would think as well, right? Dead Planet with the $2 super chat. Appreciate you. Says, I hope the CMA has things to do besides watch the Game Awards. Maybe they should watch the Game Awards so they can learn a little bit about video games. You know?
Yeah. Except for that one guy who said my PlayStation. He knows
PlayStation.
plenty.
Yeah.
He knows plenty about the game, about the industry. Yeah.
Ricardo, good old Ricardo.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Ricardo. Shout out to Ricardo over there. Making sure your PlayStation still gets your Call of Duty.
No. Too sexy, Ricardo. Too sexy.
Again, Spooky, the breathtaking gamer with another Australian $3 super chat says, Colin, just sour because he doesn't have Manscaped balls. I'm sure Colin could get a Manscaped sponsorship if he wanted one. And he may have had one before, you know. Who knows if he's smooth? I don't know. I don't care. But anyway, guys, let's see. What else will we get to? I mean, we did talk a little bit about the Game Awards. I will go. I was on Boom Show the other day, and they were all damping my hype for this show as well. Everybody was against me. I just think it's so stupid that the regulators are so uneducated about gaming period that they don't realize that these companies have video games that they have to make, and that they got to show them and stuff. Like, I don't know. I'm sick of that whole process. I just want it to be over. I want to have the shows back. Selfishly, I don't care if it costs the deal. Fuck it. I want a good Game Awards. I want to have some fun. Okay, like I don't really. I
would actually rather them show us two great things at the Game Awards, falter the deal because of it, and go after some better studios that I would enjoy more.
Make it a more fun ride. Let's go. It's so boring.
Yeah, like go buy Capcom and go buy Square Enix because the Activision deal came out, and then Square Enix is like, well, we don't know anything other than exclusive, so I guess we have to hide our games from PlayStation. Yeah. No, that's just mean. That was mean. You know what? I'm sorry I said that.
You're
all
just
PlayStation
selfish,
fans that hear my voice, blow your nose. It'll be all right.
You're just selfish, Mav. That's all you care about is you.
I just want to see some games, man.
You know Phil's feeling the exact same way. You know this is attorney. This is $1 million attorneys playing chess right now too, going, no. We gotta keep it quiet. We gotta just trust it. You gotta keep it quiet here. That's all this is at the end of the day.
It sucks.
It sucks.
I'm sick of it. We've been in this world for a year. I don't want it anymore. I want this.
Just wait till the floodgates open.
I love it.
Just wait how much they're gonna have to announce as soon as this deal closes.
God.
Like it's gonna be the floodgates. It literally, they might have to have a whole nother show prior to E3 just to show us all the stuff.
So like showing Avowed will cost the deal. Like, I mean, really? You know? I mean, come on. I mean, maybe I don't know. Maybe they're like, oh, they got this game called Avowed. They don't need Call of Duty. What a fucking stupid argument to make. But
I wish I knew if that was like really how they feel. But Jez says that he's speculating, but I wonder if he just heard something that thought, man, maybe I should keep my expectations.
I know when he got Sloth, he did respond to Sloth saying this is more speculation. Right.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you're right.
So I think that who knows, right? I feel like Keely's really propping up the show right now, which he usually does. I mean, we're all excited to see all those commercials.
I wouldn't believe the things I've
Do you think
seen.
we're going to get another Troy Baker podcast in the middle of the show?
Yes. Yes, please.
Troy Baker's
We need-
NFTs
Yeah.
round
Yes.
corner?
Yes.
Yeah, probably. No, I don't know.
The Last of Us Part
okay,
1
I
remake,
like
remaster,
Jeff.
and remake.
I like Jeff. I like his show.
Yes.
I love his show. I'm super happy. And people make fun of the ads and the music stuff. And it's like, yeah, I mean, you got to sift through some of that stuff because we're there for the gameplay reveals. We're there for the new announcements. And it's because of Jeff stepping up and spending all this money and raking it in that we get to have another place to see announcements.
Correct.
With summer, what does he call it? Summer
Games Fest. Game Fest.
And then the Game Awards.
Yeah.
Like we get 2 times a year. So
Get
yeah, I
extra
mean,
stuff.
Even if we do have to
tell
sit
Jeff
through
thank
The
you.
Rock working out in the gym, pushing his energy drink.
Oh
Right?
my
Even if we have
gosh,
to
yeah,
sit
for
through
that
That was
movie.
amazing.
Yeah.
We did have a funny DM going, Pong, that was actually making me die about, you know, we none of us, like, if we would just be like vicious actually, and if this deal got done without any concessions and put Call of Duty still on PlayStation. But what was one of your things you would do, Pong?
Oh, I said Call of Duty would be which one? Guys, I said 900p and 30 frames per second.
900p
still get
and
Call of
30
Duty.
frames on PlayStation.
Yeah, no
Right.
controller support, keyboard and mouse only. Microsoft,
Touch-
Microsoft.
VR only.
Microsoft
Keyboard and mouse
certified.
or touch controls only. Yeah.
They're only getting PSVR 2 versions
Oh
of
my
Call of Duty.
That's not nice.
I said one map. They only get one map.
One map.
Yeah, one map.
Or we said Call of Duty prehistoric era with sticks and stones with exclusive
yeah.
skins. That's what they get. That's
Yeah.
all they get.
And no games above 1960 period. Like,
Right,
it's
right.
like that's the cutoff
Right.
point. You know.
They get prehistoric Civil War stuff. That's all they get over there. That's it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It's just
Real quick-
it being petty. That's like they deserve
being
it.
petty
They
is-
deserve
it's
it at
funny.
this point.
After all this, yes. After everything we've had to go through because of this, I agree wholeheartedly.
The other part of it is PlayStation's made themselves look ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter. Like they can embarrass themselves. All they care about is working as hard as they can to get the deal blocked. That's all that matters. Because if they do, then they are going to make as much money as they were hoping to make.
Yeah.
And if the deal passes or the deal falters, people forget that PlayStation embarrassed themselves. So they have nothing to lose. That's how I feel anyway.
Yeah. Well, Colt, do you have time to get into some Starfield talk?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
You did a
Yeah.
video on this too.
Yeah.
Yes, I did a video, and
It was great.
I am really super grateful that a lot of people have shared it and watched it. So
Awesome.
I just did that yesterday. It went out. Crazy. Yeah. Yes. Let's talk Starfield. I've got a lot to say.
Did you break down the Todd Howard interview a little bit? On your
I
page?
did. I took the Lex
Lex Friedman.
Fried. Is it? I said Friedman in the video because I didn't see the
I don't know.
an E in there.
Free. Yeah. Just go.
Is
with
it?
free.
Dang it.
I don't
Well,
know.
nobody corrected me because people always correct me when I make mistakes.
Maybe
And
it is
thank you for
Friedman.
that. Like I remember when I said H.E. Geiger. It's like it's Giger. Yeah.
I've always said
HR
Geiger too.
HR Geiger in there. It's Giger.
I've always said Geiger too.
Well,
Whatever.
but I
Tomato,
did-
tomato.
Is it really Giger?
Yeah, I think so.
I've always said Geiger also.
I said Geiger because of a Geiger counter, and I know it's Giger is the correct pronunciation. I mispronounced 2 location names in Elder Scrolls for Elder
God.
Scrolls
my
6.
God. Colt, how
God.
dare
Oh,
you, man?
Jesus. Oh, good
Oh
Lord.
my
Oh.
gosh. How could you do that? Bloody name.
You're a fake gamer, Colt Eastwood.
Fraud.
Yeah, I mean, I have so many hours in those games, but
Yeah.
whatever.
Whatever.
What was
Tomato,
the question? Lex Friedman.
Yeah.
Friedman.
I took
Yeah.
his 2-hour and 45-minute
Yeah.
interview, and I captured small parts that I thought were
Yeah.
significant, and then I cut them down, and I cut out even in between cuts of like when Todd would say something really great, and then he'd say a small tangent, and then he'd get back to saying something really great. I cut all that out because some YouTubers will like just slap an interview up and just throw gameplay over it. So I'm like, if I'm gonna borrow Lex's interview, I got to do it justice. So I cut the best parts of the interview. I showed him at the beginning, sourced him in the description, and I threw specific clips over and between Todd Howard talking, and I really enjoyed making the video. So I know quite a bit about what was said. So I spent like 4 hours on that video.
Fascinating interview.
This is the best Todd Howard interview.
In fact, there's a part in the interview that was better than that had nothing to do with gaming, when he was talking about SpaceX and NASA and visiting the museum and how we're trying to get off the planet. We've reached the limits of physics, and Elon Musk. And I was like, and I get really nerdy about sci-fi stuff, especially since Mass Effect series came out. I'm really interested in the interplanetary stuff. And I was there going, oh my gosh, that is so cool. And I can't use that in a video because it doesn't, but I was like, so the cool thing was Todd is like genuinely super interested in this stuff, and he wanted to make this game, and we are going to enjoy their love letter to exploring space. So I think we have a lot to look forward to, and I'm so sick of people saying, another Fallout 76.
Oh God.
So it's gonna get another Fallout 76 as per usual. That's all Bethesda.
Just ignore all the generational games. Just ignore all the generational games that he's made.
Fallout Bethesda makes is Fallout. I've followed them for 26 years, and all they make is Fallout 76. They had Fallout 76 in 2004, Fallout 76 in 2007, and it goes in my comment section. I'm like,
yes. Yep.
And people don't even realize the difference between the teams that are working on those projects or any of that stuff, man.
Nothing.
Like,
Streetborn 311 says Starfield needs a Mass Effect narrated codex. That would be so freaking awesome. Just rip it off. Just steal it from Mass Effect. No other game does that. They have grimoire cards. You have to read the lore on a tab. Oh, I used to spend hours sitting there listening to that guy going, the Quarians, I love it.
It was amazing.
Yeah, that is good stuff. That interview was spectacular, right? I mean, it was a lot of interesting things just about thought, like, how do you design a game? Where do you start? Or like, how does the systems work for AI and the world building? And he was talking about Starfield. At one point, he was talked about, well, the first thing we had to figure out is how do we make all these damn planets, right? And he said, we basically figured out a way to make a large stretch of land, and then we were able to duplicate that randomly almost, and then have them all blend together, right? So talking about the like generational or procedural, creation. Right. So it's going to be a very massive game. And I feel like when people look at a game like Starfield, they forget about ambition of the world that it is, and only focus on graphics or something compared to a game like God of War. Right. It's God of War. You can't go to like 1,000 planets. You can't do all this stuff. It doesn't have all these random NPCs that carry conversations different ways and all these different things. So I want to start with Pong on this one, because like he's probably the biggest Starfield guy I know. Looking forward to this. Besides Skullsy out there.
Yeah.
Skullsy's amazing.
Pong, what was your biggest takeaway from Todd Howard?
Wow. There was a lot to take away here. Again, like you said, there was so much, and like Colt was just saying too, as a kid who went to space camp, Colt, I nerd out all the time, right? So I went to space camp. I actually went to space camp. I was going to be an astronaut.
Nice.
I was going to be an astronaut at one point.
That's so cool.
Yeah. Until I found out how much science and math was involved when I was but no. So I geek out about this stuff too. I'm more like high fantasy is like Elder Scrolls is my jam, right? But sci-fi is right there, and Mass Effect, set the bar so high. But throughout this interview, he just gave so many new nuggets that I don't know if everybody picked up on him. Colt, you did a great job in your video picking them up. But I think that the biggest thing to me is that even though the scope of this game is well beyond anything that they've done, just in terms of sheer size and variety in what they're going for here, that they are still trying, and I love this phrase from Todd, and it's something that they use as a philosophy. We want to say yes to our players as much as we can. Yes, you can do that. Yes, you can go do. That's what they tried to establish. And even though this scope is beyond, they've tried to carry that forward into Starfield. So again, like Cole was talking about, the people that try to downplay Starfield, or the other one Colt, that still bothers me so much is you don't even know anything about this game. You can't be excited.
Yeah.
Bro, if you know Bethesda games and you honestly are a fan of Bethesda games, you know exactly what Starfield's going to try to do. But I think it's going to even go beyond that. I think now at this point, because I never tone my hype down. I'm not one of those people. If I get disappointed because I hype myself too much, that's a me thing. I don't care.
Yeah, it's your own fault.
It's my own fault, and I take full responsibility. So I don't care. I let my hype go wild. But I think with Starfield, I think the fact that it got the year delay, as disappointing as it was, that I should be talking about Starfield playing right now and all the things I'm already discovering and everything, as disappointing as it was, I think this really gave Todd and the team the extra time that they're going to be able to go the extra mile. And Todd talking about how just being able to focus on the PC and the Xbox, as much as they love working on PlayStation stuff, just being able to focus and then having those Xbox engineers come in and open up the series consoles to them and say, no, this is how you can get every ounce out of this system. I really think that Todd and his A team are going to go the extra mile with this extra year to make this the best, most polished Bethesda title that we've ever seen. Sure, is it still going to have bugs? Of course. In a game this scope, yes, of course. I expect it. But I think that really this is going to come out the best way possible. This extra time in the oven is going to do it wonders. And I think that they're taking the extra time also to add things in that maybe they didn't think they were going to have enough time with the first deadline, the first launch date, the 11/11. That they're going to be able to go back and add that stuff back in now and really make this the complete experience, the complete vision that they had from the beginning. So I took all that. Also, the one thing that I don't think I've heard other people talk about is Todd talking about the AI of the NPCs.
Yeah.
And how they're looking in the future and how they want the NPCs to have a life. Because Todd explained that they're one of the few developers, if not the only developer, that does have their NPCs actually still existing. Now, not completely, but they have the AI still running script, even if you're not anywhere near the NPCs, right? Which a lot of games don't. Once you're out of an area, the NPCs stop. They don't activate again until you actually come back in there. But now he said they want to take it further. So he wants the NPCs to have goals, to have their own agendas that they are actually carrying out, whether you're there or not. He talked about like the guilds in Elder Scrolls. Like basically they're just quest givers, right? They're just there. You go there, you go to the Mages Guild. Okay, I'm going to get a bunch of quests, and my eventual goal is to become, the head mage, or whatever the case may be. He wants it so that the AI starts running script where they are actually doing things out in the world. Like what would a mage guilds do, right? What would they be accomplishing? And I think that, he was talking about, we're looking at down the road, how we can incorporate that more and more. I think we might start seeing that because we know developers do this. It's a process and they're going to try new things every game that they come out with. So I think we might start seeing glimpses of that with the pirates, the space pirates in this game. Or he was talking about that you go to a star system and all of a sudden you can see, freighters, transporting stuff between worlds, and they might contact you out of the blue, and you don't know what that contact might be. That kind of stuff is what got me really excited. And I think that Starfield, at the end of the day, when it comes out, I think it's actually going to be bigger than any of us, even us big fans, anticipated. And I think there might be more to do and to live within this world than we originally thought. And I'll end it on this one too, this last point. When Todd talked about the worlds, and obviously he did make clear that these worlds are not handcrafted, these 1,000 worlds, they are going to be procedural generated, and that a lot of them are just going to be simply there for resources and that kind of stuff. But the fact that he said that those worlds have levels to them and that there's going to be areas that maybe you shouldn't be at a low level does tell me that we might encounter not just resources there, but we might be encountering wildlife or alien life that could be deadly to us. And so I think there's going to be more to do. And
robots. He said
and
that
robots,
that was a new thing he said.
Yes.
And I missed it in my video where he said there's robots that'll be combat robots that you'll have to come up against.
Yeah.
And I missed it. I mean, I heard it when I was watching the whole thing, but it wasn't something I captured and it didn't go in my video.
Yeah. But
Darn it.
I just think overall this interview, like I said, best Todd Howard interview I've ever seen. One of the most in-depth. It's just so insightful. Now, some people don't like how Lex, speaks. He's low key. I mean, he's an MIT guy. I mean, that's kind of who he is. But what I've got to say, I enjoyed the hell out of it because he really got Todd to talk about things that we haven't heard Todd kind of explain before, and the whole thought process, like Mav was bringing up, and breaking it all down. If you guys are interested in development in general, not just even Bethesda stuff, go listen to this video because Todd really goes in depth about kind of the whole system that they have in place and how they create and what goes into a game from start to finish. And I thought that was just fantastic. So I really loved this interview. Enjoyed the hell out of it.
What I kind of found the companion stuff he was talking about. Want to talk about companions a lot. Todd really likes companions.
Yeah,
in the
does.
games. I thought he was talking about the whole romance thing and all that kind of stuff. Colt, what do you think? I mean, I want to focus on Starfield with this because like there was a little bit here about Starfield. Do you feel like Starfield is going to be the next Skyrim that big, or you think it's going to be able to live up to the expectations?
Some people are like, I don't like sci-fi, but then there's some people like, I don't like fantasy. So I think it'll be a big deal. Skyrim's kind of an anomaly. Like Morrowind and those other games were really big, and then people don't really talk about them. Skyrim was really special. Skyrim captured the Lord of the Rings thing with high fantasy as well. So you kind of got like that Dungeons and Dragons, Lord of the Rings style thing. They got the tone really right. And of course they got the tone great with Fallout. So they were talking about tone in Starfield. So I think it'll be really, really popular. The thing that'll happen with Starfield is there'll be a lot of big games. There's a ton of games coming out in the first half of 2023. But I think Starfield will be the one that everyone's talking about. Like if you go to work, people will be talking about Starfield. They'll be talking about the adventures they had or what they did. Like I didn't even get to see any of that stuff. That happens in a Bethesda game. And one of the things he talked about was they dial back the graphics so that players have this unlimited freedom to go and interact and do what they want. There really aren't games where you can side with a faction while you're also betraying them carefully. And you just don't get that in games unless it's completely scripted. It's pretty amazing. So I got to say something really funny that I think is funny when you said the thing about companions was back when I was playing Skyrim, I was so into it. I had this companion named Sven, and he was from way up north in one of the big cities. Yeah. And he was my companion, and he had the voice you hear all the time. I think it's the same voice that runs one of the shops in Whiterun, but he was my companion, and he was meant to be in the game. He had a name and everything, and he was my companion for a really long time. And once I got into the main quest, I'll try to get the story moving along. When I got the main quest, they told me I had to leave them aside to follow the blonde-haired older lady to do the main quest line. Yeah. So I spent 20 hours doing the main quest line, and I'm like, okay, I got to go back and get Sven. And I'm like, oh crap. Yeah. I left Sven at this fork in the road outside of like Whiterun or something. He was like, had the battle axe. He's like, oh, you were you gonna part ways, sir? And I'm like, yes, Sven, sorry. He's like, all right. And he turns around and he walks off. Well, so I spent hours looking for Sven. I was looking it up on the internet, and they said, go back to his city, spend 2 days, go back to his city, go back to the place you left him. I'm like, I don't know where I left him. And like, this is how involved these games are. Yes. And people said, this is when you were talking about the AI, right? Yeah. They said that even back then, this is 2011, the AI in Skyrim, when you leave a companion, this is what they do. Okay. They physically turn and walk a straight line back to their home. Yeah. So I left him in the middle of the map, and he had to turn and walk. And on the internet, it says your companion may die to a saber cat or a bear, and then they'll be dead. It's like, so you'll never find them. And he's carrying half my gear. So anyway, this is how I'm trying to paint the picture of how amazing Starfield is going to be. Okay. So I'm 20, 30 hours into the game. I've forgotten about Sven. I've moved on, and I'm out fighting a dragon, and some, like the vanilla soldiers come in and they're helping me fight this dragon. And I look over and I'm about to kill this dragon. I'm hitting it. Woosar! What was the thing? Fusroda! And I look over and there's Sven with my battle axe. And he's like, and I go,
That's awesome.
And I'm playing the game, hold my 360 controller, and I go, Sven! Like out loud, sitting in this room 10 years ago. And I run over and he's like, frozen his animation. He's like, are you ready to travel with me again, sir? And I'm like, yes, Sven! Yes!
That's great, man. That is
those are the stories that you don't get anywhere else, Colt. From
You'll never
games.
get that in a sad dad third-person action adventure game that's completely scripted.
Yeah, that's amazing. So it is really becomes your story, right? With these games, we're all. I've never finished Skyrim, but I put hundreds of hours into it. I've played it on PlayStation. I've played it on Xbox. I've played it on PC. I think I even played it on my Switch. I don't even remember. I mean, I played it like on everything.
Yeah.
And it's one of those games that if there's a new version of it, you got to get it. Right? Mm-hmm. Like, you got it. I mean, you just got to play
times,
it. Yeah. And Diablo was that way for me also. But the thing about Skyrim is I never beat it because I never cared to. Right?
I think I beat it. I'm pretty sure. I think you go back to the palace and at Whiterun and tie something up. I don't even remember. I'm pretty sure I beat it.
Yeah. I just get lost in the world. Well, so you know what I mean?
The first 5 hours you're at Whiterun and the guy's like, I need you to do this because I rule this area. And I think you have to go back to him eventually and finish the game.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure I did, but that would have been back in 2011. And then I bought it in PC in 2015. I'm like, oh, this is great at 60 frames. And I got to like level 80 and I like went a totally different direction and never got like any of the main quests. Cause I'm like, I don't want to go talk to that lady. Some of that main quest that's the problem with Bethesda games. That's the main issue is the main quest ruins all of my enjoyment. Mm-hmm. Like, son, you have to come find me and help me with the water purifier. I'm like, I don't want to. I want to go through that building, clear everything out, fight these guys, find this item. I want to go out and I just want to scavenge through and get my fingernails dirty. I don't want to help be in this linear path in the main quest. That's the only time when in Bethesda games where I'm like, when can I go back outside?
That's why I just don't do them. I do them as they come, and sometimes I'm gone for hundreds of hours before I go back to the main quest. I don't care. Like, that's the greatest part, I think, is creating your own story, like Mav said, and that Todd brings up all the time. It's really about those moments that you have. There's people that literally just run kind of a regular life in Elder Scrolls and just fool around. Again, when I became a vampire for the first time, I played the role of becoming a vampire. Right?
Everyone runs from you.
Yeah, it was amazing. And I was like all into it. Like, I'd hunt at night, right? And then sleep during the day and wait for the night to come again and go decide who I was going to bite while they're sleeping, and all like that's what you do in these types of that's what you do in these types of games.
Well, I mean, Todd wants you to have that leaving the vault moment.
Yes.
And it's almost like he's like, we want you to experience this big thing we've crafted for you right in the beginning. And he wants you to just go out and turn left.
Yep.
When everyone else turns right.
Yep.
And the game shines. You play 100 hours of Fallout 3, and I'm in like my 6th day of Fallout 4. So what's 6 times 24? I don't know. I can't do the math.
144.
A lot of hours, bro. I thought you're going to be an astronaut. You got the math down pat.
I got simple math down, not the complicated stuff.
So 6 times 24 is 144. So we should be able to get the rocket slingshot around.
That ain't gonna work.
It's really amazing. And of course, I'm super interested in space exploration, and they've grounded some of the reality of it mixed with the sci-fi combat and all that stuff. You can build your settlement. That's going to be super fun. Customize your ship. Anybody who tells you Starfield's going to be trash, they need to be hit over the head because they haven't played No Man's Sky like I have. No Man's Sky is euphoric. It's a great experience, but it's too open. Like, it just doesn't have that structure that you would expect from a fully realized game.
The motivation.
Yeah. And I'm lost in No Man's Sky. Actually, I'm in the wrong system to even find the way to get to the system so I can be on the next main quest. But they don't understand. Those people aren't playing No Man's Sky like I have. No Man's Sky is fantastic, and this you get kind of the best of both worlds. So
exactly. Exactly. And I mean, Todd even brought up in this interview too, which we hadn't heard before, but the suits are, you're going to have different suits for different air on planets, gases. You're going to have to worry about the environmental stuff as well.
You know what which I don't think they're going to do, because almost no game does this. None. Correct me if I'm wrong, but there aren't any gravity coefficients in video games. Like you land on a planet in No Man's Sky, any planet in the entire system. Yeah. Millions of them, and it's all gravity of 1.0.
Yeah, 1.0.
Or whatever it is, right?
I think they might in this one though, right?
Because I would hope
gravity
so.
In your ship. There's
think,
gravity in your ship, because they said that you can turn off your gravity.
I think there is. Didn't you talk about that when they showed one of the planets early on?
Yeah.
Like, I would love to go land on a planet and you know it's a fourth of the gravity and you're kind of bunny hopping through it.
Right.
It would suck when you land on a planet and it's 6 times gravity. You're like
you're instantly
dead. Can't walk.
It's like you're over encumbered.
Yeah, exactly. You're constantly encumbered. You know.
That's one of those not fun moments that Todd talked about.
Yep,
but you know what's going to happen though, Colt, with this game is the modders are going to make it happen, because the modding community for Bethesda is ridiculous, and this game is limitless. Again, they've got this wide open 1,000 planets that people are going to be able to create some of the most craziest things on. It's going to be insane what the modders do.
I mean, I'm just going to build what I want. I'm going to customize my ship as much as I want till I'm not having fun with it, and it's going to be super enjoyable. So
and I'm going to be a pirate for life. It's going to be fun. Space pirates all the way. I'm going
to be the good guy. Yeah, I'm going to be the good guy, like I always am. I'm always the good guy.
I'm indecisive. I'm always making the wrong decisions. Like he talked about in the interview about how people like recreate their character because they feel like they screwed up. That's me.
Oh yeah. You can realign your points, and you can make decisions that realign your character if you're like, oh, I'm being too evil. Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. Like when the karma systems have been missing for a while. So
when I got bit by a vampire for the first time, I was like, fuck, I don't want to have to go like hunt at night and suck people's blood.
So fun.
So I was like, all right, so I had to look it up. How the fuck do I get rid of this? You know what I mean? Like, and there's like, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'm on a new adventure to cure my vampire.
That was like a 5-hour excursion to get rid of
just randomly, vampirism. You know what I mean?
I became the werewolf. I'm like, what? What is this? I'm like,
yes, it was amazing. Taking out the town guards as a werewolf.
Then you accidentally, like, you kill somebody or something, and like, all of a sudden you have like people after you that randomly, you'll just be walking through town and like 2 people approach you. We were sent by the Assassin's Guild to annihilate you. Die.
They have a note in their pocket.
Yeah. Yes.
Colt Eastwood, to whom it may concern, you're a dead man. Which I get those in DMs on Twitter all the time.
Not the same.
They don't take any account to who's in the town. Like, you could be literally in the town next to a child, like they're playing with their brother or something, and you could be next to them and they just start fighting right there. Right. Just try and stab you, and everybody in the town dies because these people were after you. And it's like, oh shit, do I reload that or do I just let all these people die? Because those moments are just absolutely crazy. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else really to get into. The only other thing to touch on.
Colt's gotta go.
Yeah.
Colt's gotta get out of here too. So
I want to real quick ask you, Colt, about the we had touched on Indiana Jones Machine Games thing with was it Jens Anderson from
wow, good memory.
Yeah, I think it's what it was for
it was just announced today.
Yeah, it seems like that creator was just acknowledged that they're going to be taking the creative design role on Indiana Jones, but that goes back to the Darkness and to
Chronicles of
Riddick, which Starbreeze days we talked about before. The Starbreeze founders founded Machine Games, right? So this is that whole DNA, right? I think it spells good things for that game. But do you think it's first person? That's what I want to ask you.
Okay, I put up a poll on Twitter.
Yeah,
right.
Mm-hmm. I saw the poll. That's why I'm asking you before we.
And people, I think people are voting for what they want, not what they think. And I don't like putting in both as an option because I want to know where people are landing.
Yeah.
Let's see. The poll is at 78.8% are saying it's a third person game. Todd said in that interview that it's like a mix of different genres. So I don't know. It just doesn't seem like it would work to be a first person game. Like
I agree.
Red Dead Redemption 2 for me doesn't really work as a first person game. Being on the horse just doesn't feel great. Shooting from first person is not perfect because they don't have the same mechanics in Grand Theft Auto 5 and Red Dead 2 that you'd expect of aiming down sights. You know, it mostly just shoots the guns like this, and you can aim down sights, but you have to push an extra button. No. But that's not the reason why. I just don't know what they're going to do about Harrison Ford's face, because his face, a 30-some-year-old rugged guy from 1940s, that's Indiana Jones. And like, are they going to face model young, 30-some-year-old Indiana Jones, or are they going to make their interpretation of who the Indiana Jones character is? Keep in mind that it's all under Lucasfilm and LucasArts, so they may want Harrison Ford's likeness as in his prime.
But they did that for the movie trailer. I saw that today. They have a young Indiana Jones in there.
They have like a 40-year-old 40-something-year-old Indiana Jones, like 10 years after what we saw. So he was slightly aged. He hadn't had gray hair yet. So he's like my age. No, I don't know. It's most of the characters we play as are in their 40s in video games,
Nathan
so
Drake.
take that. Except unless you're talking about
Need for Speed Unbound.
Saints Row.
What you talking about, bruh? Come on, bro.
Come on, bro. Give me the beats, bro.
Yeah.
Bro.
Everybody talks like Gaz.
I was
with
like,
a lower
bro.
Yeah.
voice. You should print that on a shirt.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, bro. I don't know. I have a lot to say, actually. I think I might end up working on that video tonight.
Yeah.
I've been overworking myself, but there's been actually, I want to talk about the games. And I spent a lot of time talking about the hardware. So I've been covering the games a lot over the past year and a half because the hardware's not doing what it's supposed to. And that's what you do. Talk about what's exciting.
Yeah.
The hardware's not exciting right now. The PS5 and the Series X are not exciting. Actually, the Series S is exciting. It's amazing what that little thing is doing.
Yeah.
That's exciting. But everyone's like,
agree.
oh, but the PS5 and the Series X, like, these developers are like shoving out 1080p 60.
Yeah. When you have Gotham Knights released at 30 frames, and the other question,
Plague Tale
I didn't even want to get into the can of worms about the 30 frames of Starfield. Is that what is that?
It is a whole discussion.
Yeah,
it's a whole discussion.
We could spend 2 hours on the
possibility. And they've got experts on the job making it dance, as he said, on the Series X. So
there's going to be an option.
Hope so.
Yeah,
but Colt, thanks, man. It's been absolutely amazing having you on the show. Pong, do you want to keep going, or you want to wrap it up?
If we're good, we're good.
Right,
I mean,
we're good.
It's up to you. If you got some more topics,
he wants to have a honey lozenge and just put a blanket over his head.
Go drink some honey.
Play some Midnight Suns.
Yeah, right on.
And Callisto Protocol comes out in like 2 or 3 hours. So
yeah, awesome, man.
Yikes, man.
Well,
hey, shout out to your chat and your viewers and your show. You guys are awesome. I love seeing you guys stop by the other podcasts that I'm watching or I'm guesting or the one I'm doing, and it's always fun to hang out with you guys. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, dude. It's a great pleasure having you on here again, and we'll have to do it again sometime. Keep up the amazing content. If people are oblivious to what you got going on, make sure everybody knows about XNC and your channel and everything.
Yeah. It's just Colt Eastwood, one word, on YouTube and Twitter. And I just do a show on Monday nights that if you want to step in and check it out, but it's on Spotify and those other platforms. So if you want to just mow your frosty lawn in the winter and listen to the show, thank you. We appreciate it. Yeah. You guys are all great.
Yeah. Right on, man. Appreciate it. Pong Soul.
Yes, sir.
Do your thing, bro.
Colt, appreciate you, brother. Again, always taking the time to come on anybody else's show. Just thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for showing up again, man. It's a great time to having you here. Love to hear your perspective on things. So thank you. And chat, you all were absolutely incredible. Again, a lot of the familiar faces and a lot of other people checking us out, maybe for the first time due to Colt being on here. Thank you for dropping in. Whether you drop in for 5 minutes or stay the whole time, nothing but love. And for the people that listen to this in the future, same goes to you. All respect, because again, like Cole started, like Mab and I always say, it'd just be us talking on Xbox Live about the same stuff because that's how passionate we
Yeah.
are.
Yes.
But it's amazing to have an audience as well that love this as much as we do. So thank you all for being here. It was a great show. And Mav, extra special thanks to you, brother, for hosting tonight since this throat is not cooperating.
Anytime. You
appreciate
sounded
it.
fine. You sounded like a gremlin at the beginning of the show, but it smoothed out.
I've been drinking nonstop, as you can see. So trying to help out, but it feels like razor blades. But anyways, everybody find me Pong Soul on Twitter, Pong Soul on Xbox. You all know that. Tomorrow night is going to be Xbox Ultimate. I'm sure we're going to have more to talk about as far as Midnight Suns go. Maybe even deep dive the Todd Howard interview a little bit more as well. It's going to be a great time. 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 o'clock Central Time, right back here on Fun Speculations channel. You know that. Saturday mornings, get the alarm set. You know myself, my brother from another Steel Rain, living split screen, all one word. Mission 1K is still in effect for this year. We still got some time left. Drop on in. We're going to take care of you. Steel and I go for 3+ hours, but you know it winds up being 4. So just be
Jeez.
there. Oh, yeah, we have a good time there. Cool. We have people leave and go do stuff and then come back like from the grocery store and we're still on.
Like they go on vacation. They come back and just still live.
So be there 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time, right on Saturday morning on Living Split Screen. And then Saturday night's the Shop Podcast with PTK Blam over on PTK Blam's channel. Myself, PTK Blam, and of course, Fuzzy Belvedere, another member of the Fun Speculation family. Be there. Great way to end your Saturday night. It is now 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 o'clock Central Time due to the time change. So be there Saturday night. And then, of course, Tuesdays, it's Xbox Factor Podcast. Even though I'm not there hardly at all, it's been a while now. You got to show up for Double Barrel Gaming. Mr. Boomstick is one of the best in the community. Got to be there 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 o'clock Central Time for all good things green every Tuesday afternoon. Otherwise, it is the golden age of gaming, people. Play what you love what you play, and have a great rest of your Friday and weekend. Talk to y'all real soon.
Heck yeah, man. And a chat, you guys rock as well. Channel members, everybody. If you like the content, hit the like button, share it out, subscribe to the channel, check out our other shows. Xbox Ultimate, like Pong said, is tomorrow, but it's at 10 p.m. tomorrow night instead of 9. And so we'll be doing that. And then we'll be back next week with all the regular shows as well. Peace out. And don't forget to shave your balls. Your women don't like to floss their teeth with your pubes. Peace.
Manscaped for life.
Let's go. 20% off with code Fun Speculation.